صلي وسلم على سيدنا محمد حتى ترث الأرض ومن عليها أنت خير الوارثين. نويت تعلم وتعليم وتذكر التذكير ونفع انتفاع والإفادة والاستفادة والحث على التمسك بكتاب الله وبسنة رسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم ودعاء إلى الهدى ودلالة على الخير ابتغاء وجه الله ومرضاته وقربه وثوابه سبحانه وتعالى. قال الإمام أبو فتح شمس الدين أبو عبد الله محمد بن أحمد ابن سيد الناس يعمري الربيعي رضي الله تعالى عنه وأرضاه في كتابه نور العيون في تلخيص سيرة الأمين المأمون صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم في باب لباسه صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. وكان صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم يلبس الصوف وينتعل المخصوف ولا يتأنق في ملبس، وحب اللباس إليه الحبرة من برود اليمن فيها حمرة وبياض، وأحب الثياب إليه القميص. ويقول إذا لبس ثوبا استجده اللهم لك الحمد كما ألبستنيه، أسألك خيره وخير ما صنع له، أعوذ بك من شره وشر ما صنع له. وتعجبه الثياب الخضر، وربما لبس الإزار الواحد ليس عليه غيره، ويعقد طرفيه بين كتفيه، ويلبس يوم الجمعة برده الأحمر ويعتم، ويلبس خاتما من فضة نقشه محمد رسول الله في خنصره الأيمن وربما في الأيسر. وكان صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم يحب الطيب ويكره الرائحة الكريهة. ويقول صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم إن الله تبارك وتعالى جعل لذتي في النساء والطيب وجعل قرة عيني في الصلاة. وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم يتطيب بالغالية والمسك وحده، ويتبخر بالعود والكافور، ويكتحل بالإثمد، وربما اكتحل ثلاثا باليمين واثنين في اليسار، وربما اكتحل وهو صائم، ويكثر دهن رأسه ولحيته، ويدهن غبا، ويكتحل وترا. ويحب صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم التيمن في ترجله وتناعله وفي طهوره وفي شأنه كله. وينظر في المرآة ولا تفارق قارورة الدهن في سفره، والمكحلة والمرآة والمشط والمقراض والسواك والإبرة والخيط. ويستاك في الليلة 3 مرات قبل النوم وبعده، وعند القيام لورده، وعند الخروج لصلاة الصبح. وكان صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم يحتجم. This is the Imam Ibn Sayyid al-Nas rahimahullah ta'ala, in our continuation of looking at his work radiallahu anhu wardahu, light to the eyes, as translated radiallahu anhu, is on chapter 13, which looks at the clothes of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, which we mentioned, no doubt is very central to our understanding of the shama'il of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and the example that he set sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And regardless of the lands that the Sahaba radiallahu anhum wardahum sojourned unto, they never abandoned the clothes of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And this used to be an expressed command of Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu wardah inside of his khilafat. Often the clothes of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, that they're given the term of libas ma'ad, the clothes of ma'ad. And ma'ad is the forefather of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam and of Umar ibn Khattab, Ma'ad ibn Adnan. And Sayyidina Umar rahimahullah ta'ala, when he would send quote unquote his instructions to those leaders of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum wardahum who went beyond the boundaries and the horizons of Medina to Munawwara, he would say tama'adu, meaning take to the clothes of Ma'ad, regardless of what territory you walk in. Okay, and the clothes of Ma'ad are the clothes of the one who was in Ma'ad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And so these become, mashallah, tabarakallah, the epitome of dress. Whatever the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam wore, which is what his companions wear, and whatever the women who surrounded the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam wore, that is the greatest quote-unquote raiments and apparel that a human being can wear. And again, the clothes of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, as we go through it fleetingly, inshallah ta'ala, that they have a higher connection to the clothes of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that they can connect, quote, go to the higher order of the divine subhanahu wa ta'ala, so they can have a divine import. The clothes of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they can connect to the world of the prophets, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَبِهَدَاهُمْ اقْتَدِئ, and follow their guidance. And the clothes of the Rasul himself sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that he also connect to the angelic horizon sallallahu alaihi wasallam, that which the angels themselves and he clothe themselves in. However, the greatest quote-unquote commandment for clothing from him subhanahu wa ta'ala is, what do we clothe and cover our heart with? That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَلِبَاسُ تَقْوَى ذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ. Allah ta'ala in this chapter is called libasuhu, the libas of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the libas is that which covers. The libas is that which obscures. And just as we have a physical body that needs to be clothed, we also have a metaphysical that also needs to be clothed. And Allah Ta'ala says, وَلِبَاسَ taqwa. Okay, the raiment or the apparel of taqwa. Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala says, ذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ. That is what is best. Allah Jalla Jalaluhu wa Ta'ala Ta'azamatuhu. And the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, he said, التقوى ها هنا, التقوى ها هنا, التقوى ها هنا, ويشير إلى صدره ثلاث مرات. The Prophet ﷺ said, taqwa lies here, taqwa lies here, and taqwa lies here. And then pointing to his heart 3 times, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. And so the clothes of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sahbihi wasallam outwardly, yani unwan al-batin, as saying Imam Malik rahimahullah ta'ala says, al-zahir unwan al-batin, that the outer is the signpost for the inner. Okay, and so the clothes of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sahbihi wasallam, they espouse the degree of taqwa that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wasallam clothed his soul in. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wasallam. The Imams rahimahullah ta'ala, the Rasul is telling his companions, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam did not say at-taqwa ha hunak. He didn't point at the heart of his companions. So don't think it's the issue of it's at the taqwa is generically in the human heart. The Rasul said at-taqwa ha in the Arabic language, pay attention. Huna. It's in the heart of the Nabi. That's the well of taqwa. The heart of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, libasuhu libas taqwa. His clothes are the clothes of taqwa, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And again, as we said, we mentioned tradition in the Musnad, they meant tashabbaha biqawmin fahuwa minhum, that whoever imitates a people is of those people. And we would do well to imitate the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If we sort of claim to be of him, if we desire to be with him, we would do well, quote unquote, to imitate him. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, as Imam Ahmed rahimahullah ta'ala says, fil libas wal akal, in his clothes as well as in his diet, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And so this, inshallah ta'ala, epicenter. Whenever the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi, the Messenger of God sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, used to dress in wool, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, of the clothes, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And look at the textiles now. What are the textiles that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam would ordinarily adopt in his physical clothing, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? The Imam rahimahullah ta'ala first and foremost wants to begin with wool. Wool. Did the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wear wool? Yes. Did the companions wear wool? Yes. Was it especially the elite of the companions who rejected the dunya and were called the neighbors of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Ahlul Suffah, living in the masjid of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Yes. Okay, he said wool, he says the garments of the meek, garments of the meek. Allah Ta'ala placed it upon those creatures of meekness that are known as sheep. And remember, sheep, quote unquote, symbolically are human beings. And so Ahlullah, the people of Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, in imitation of the Rasul Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, have chosen wool as the preferred clothing. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa wasallam, to the point of regardless, Medina to Munawwara is a place of heat, yani hot place, yani. And so wool garments in a hot place can create a type of stench, to the point that the Sahaba of the Sahaba, and who went to the Rasul sallallahu and they complained to the Prophet sallallahu about the people of Sufa and their wearing of wool. Okay, the wearing of wool, and the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, the wearing of wool, it created a type of sort of odor. Okay, a type of odor. So they went to the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with a type of complaint, and the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, quote unquote, never heard the complaint. Leave the people of Sufa alone. Okay, that there, quote unquote, it's like an emblem, a shi'ar, a symbol of their dedication to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and their humility and meekness in the presence of the divine subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wore wool, that day from the textiles of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wore linen, that from the textiles of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wore cotton, that from the textiles of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also leather, that from the textiles of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. They're cornerstones, they're the main cornerstones in terms of the clothes of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Otherwise, you can have the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, we say, Bunya al-Islamu ala khamsin, Islam was built upon 5. The rarity that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam could also wear a garment that was made out of camel's hair. Okay, in the tradition, the Imam al-Tirmidhi brings that the Rasul wore a garment that was made out of camel's hair. So if you're trying to understand like what camel's hair, it's the textile that you use, either Bedu are going to use to make tents, yani. It's going to be considered to be coarse and it's going to be considered to be heavy. And the Rasul said had a garment that was made out of camel's hair. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. These are the textiles of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And quote unquote, one of the reasons we should be aware of that, so we can imitate him therein. So don't think there's a quote unquote, there's a textile that's greater than leather. And especially if you've got leather for the feet, khuf, the khuf of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa made out of leather. Don't think, quote unquote, there's a textile that is greater than linen or greater than cotton. That day, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa with his shirts and other than his shirts sallallahu alayhi wa a chosen textile. Don't think there's a quote unquote, there's a textile for something, an outer garment that quote unquote is greater than the likes of wool. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam wearing woolen garments sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Don't think there's a textile that is greater, quote unquote, that you can espouse your destitute, quote unquote, reliance and dependency upon him subhanahu wa ta'ala, that's greater than camel's hair. Hakada the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam demonstrating the best textiles. Remember, we're seeking libas taqwa. Okay, that's what we're seeking. Libas taqwa. We're not seeking libas or kuffar. Not that. That's not the libas we're seeking. We're seeking the libas of taqwa. Dhalika khair. That's better, as Allah Jalla Jalaluhu wa Ta'ala says. He would also wear cobbled sandals. It's the na'al of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And as you know that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would cobble his own sandals. So there are no sandals of the Rasul that have become once again an emblem of the path of Nubuwwah, the path of Muhammadiyah, become an emblem for it, quote unquote, not just in our day and age, but likewise in the centuries that have preceded our day and age. Those sandals upon which the reality of Nubuwwah, of prophecy, of Muhammadiyah stood upon. And so for us, the actual sandals of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam are like a pedestal upon which the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam stood. And those sandals of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam were not just earthly, not even just heavenly, they were lordly. They stood in the presence of the divine subhanahu wa ta'ala with his sandals. When Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam stands in the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, earthly, upon earth, Allah says, ikhla'na alayka, take off your sandals. To come into the presence of the divine subhanahu wa ta'ala, ard muqaddasa. You're in like a holy land, a sanctified land. Yet the Rasul sallallahu qabil qawsayn or adna, 2 bows length or even close. There's no commandment forthcoming from the divine subhanahu wa ta'ala for the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam to take off those sandals. That's why ala al-ayn wa ra'as, the sandals of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, that's proper, that we placed them upon our eyes and we placed them upon our head. Those sandals of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, shi'ar, like the likes of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar rahimahullah ta'ala, that the Imams of the Sahaba anhu arda, they used to imitate the Prophet sallallahu sandals. Sandals special. And so they used to have sandals made that were, like, as Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Umar said, I had my sandals made as an exact imitation of the Rasul himself, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama. From the uniqueness of the sandal of the Rasul, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, qibalain, that there are going to be two straps in the sandals of the Rasul, sallallahu alayhi wa sahbihi wa sallama. A sandal between his big toe, sallallahu alayhi wa sallama, and the toe that follows it. Then a strap, and then a strap between the third toe and the toe that follows it. The sandals of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam were unique, and they were the type of sandals that you saw also in the age of whom? The age of Abu Bakr as-Siddiq. Uniqueness, sandals of Nabuwah. And they are like also the sandals that you saw in the age of Umar ibn Khattab. Sandals, unique. But they were not the sandals that you saw in the age of Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan. And Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan, it's mentioned, is the first now to reduce the sandal to one strap, to one side. Sayyidina Uthman rahimahullah ta'ala. If you understand that, you understand the symbolism of the sandal for prophecy in and of itself. Okay, for prophecy in and of itself. Remember the age of Abu Bakr and the age of Umar ibn Khattab radiallahu ta'ala anhu warda, they are in the truest and the most puritanical sense, they are the ages of Nabuwah. Okay, ages of Nabuwah. And what we mean by that, people in that age, in the age of those two Imams in particular, we're not talking about the Imams themselves, that's a given. We're talking about those who the Imams ruled over, radiallahu ta'ala, governed over. Those who the Imams served were people who were on the path of Nabuwah, ala manhaj Nabuwah. When you get to the age of Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan, the Muslim world undergoes a radical change. That's like Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib rahimahullah ta'ala, when he was asked, why is it in the age of Abu Bakr and Umar did we see such a peaceful and a beautiful and a just and an equitable age? Whereas all we see inside of the age of Uthman and inside of your age, it's an age of chaos, it's an age of dissension, it's an age of disobedience. Hakada, he says to Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, Lima, why? And Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, rahimahullah ta'ala, karamallahu wajhu, bab Madinatul Ilm, he says, because in the age of Abu Bakr and Umar, they ruled the likes of us, me, and Uthman. In Uthman's age and in my age, we rule the likes of you. So look, Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, looking at now who is governed. It's not just the Ra'i, but also the Ra'iyya, and those who ruled and those who are also ruled. And that's what you'd see in the age of the Prophet ﷺ, the age of the Rasul ﷺ, kulluhum thiqat, kulluhum udul. Every single companion is of the utmost degree of trustworthiness and of justice and of equity, every single one. And how can you see it overflow into the age of Abu Bakr and the age of Umar ibn Khattab? But that's the age of the sandal of Nabuwah. So it becomes an emblem for the way of the people of Sunnah and the way of the people of Muhammadiyah in and of itself. And he would wear cobbled sandals, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he would cobble them himself, stitch them himself, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. But he showed no great concern for clothes. That's why the Rasul could walk through the streets of Medina to Munawwara, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and like dye, which could even be saffron in the tradition, could be falling off the clothes of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's why the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam could wear a garment that's murakka', sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, that's patched, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and thereby you see his companions in imitation of the Rasul in that regard. Abu Bakr would wear patched garments. In the riwayah, Jibreel descends in patched garments. And the Rasul asked Jibreel, why you dress like that? And Jibreel says, Abu Bakr. Dressing like Abu Bakr today. An ode to Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu warda, the way he dressed. Saying Umar ibn Khattab rahimahullah ta'ala, in the Torah, 12 patches. Torah, that he will have 12 patches. The one, Fatih al-Quds, the one who conquers and liberates Jerusalem. In the Torah it's written, and the Jews are going to tell Sayyidina Abu Ubaid al-Jarrah, rahimahullah ta'ala, that we do not give the keys of Jerusalem except to the one who's mentioned inside of the Torah. And there's going to have to be 12 patches upon his garment. And so thereby Sayyidina Abu Ubaid al-Jarrah, rahimahullah ta'ala, he sends a letter all the way to Medina to Munawwara from Jerusalem for Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab to come forward to Jerusalem, because they will not deliver the keys to me. Sure. And that shows you the justice, as the Rasul calls saying Abu Ubaidah, as we look briefly at maybe some of the Sahaba later, Abu Ubaidah, Amin al-Ummah, the most trustworthy man in the Ummah of the Rasul period. He's second to nobody with regard to that sifa, as in the hadith in the Sunnah of Tirmidhi. And so Abu Ubaidah al-Jarrah, man could have snatched those keys out of his hands one time, And khalas, we've liberated, armies have liberated it, but the adab, it has, quote to go with the previous holders of the keys, tayyib. We bring Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab. Why? Because guaranteed the one who's in your Torah is about to arrive. And there comes Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab, rahimahullah ta'ala, sets out from Medina to Munawwara. That there marched the Muhammadan delegation. That's why the head of the delegation, Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab, places Abbas ibn Abdul Muttalib, the uncle of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It was Ahlul Bayt, in the form of Abbas, that leads the delegation of Umar ibn Khattab, rahimahullah ta'ala. And Umar greater than Abbas. No one's going to argue that Umar being greater than Abbas. Radiallahu ta'ala anhu warda. But look at the adab of Umar, with the family of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Put Abbas at the head of the delegation. Hakada, shuf. All the way, mashallah ta'ala, to Jerusalem. Look at Umar ibn Khattab. He has a slave with him. And Umar ibn Khattab, rahimahullah, only has one beast, the caliph, yani. He only has one mount, the caliph, yani. But it's, I know the age of Umar, it's not an age of poverty. It's an age of futuhat, yani. So the horizons have opened up. But look at Umar ibn Khattab, rahimahullah ta'ala. He has one beast, him and quote unquote, a slave with him. And he says, we take it in turns. You ride, I ride, you ride, I ride. So Umar's walking some of the way with the beast of the slave. Then the slave gets down and Umar's up on the beast. So look at the adl. Like they call it, the age of just rule. The age of Umar ibn Khattab, rahimahullah ta'ala, the age of supreme khidmah, as in the hadith of Bukhari, on Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab, rahimahullah ta'ala, his age. And by the time they arrive at Jerusalem, whose turn is it to ride the mount? It's the slave's turn to ride the mount. He says, so how can we enter to Jerusalem? Obviously people are waiting for us, and I'm the one on the mount, and you're the one who's like the slave. Umar ibn Khattab, it's your turn, fair, remain up. And so Umar ibn Khattab enters into Medina, into Jerusalem. I mean, have you ever seen such a sight? Have you ever seen such a sight? Did you ever see such a sight from quote unquote Trump? Do you think you'll ever see a sight from Biden or Biden? Do you ever see such a sight? I mean, subhanallah, world leaders. That's saying no home. He's saying Utbah ibn Ghazwan, rahimahullah ta'ala. Hakadri says, لَتُجَرِّبُونَ الْعُمَرَاء مِنْ بَعْدِنَا. You will taste leaders after us. You're going to see leaders like the Sahaba, radiallahu anhu wardahum. The meek shall inherit the earth, yani. Those who wear wool, yani. Those who are clothed in wool. They're the ones who are going to inherit the earth. The meek. Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab enters, and now he's holding the beast of the slave, yani. That the slave is upon. Qadri enters into Medina to Munawwara, into Jerusalem, Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab, now for the keys. So they start looking at Umar ibn Khattab, the quantifiers. And they're counting the patches upon his garment. And they got 11. He said, you're not the one mentioned in the Torah, we need 12. Look, Umar ibn Khattab doesn't argue. Umar ibn Khattab doesn't snatch those keys. Umar ibn Khattab just listen. At that moment, look, shuf, this, you think, look at Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. At that moment, what does Allah ta'ala do? He causes the beast to try to flee. So Umar goes to pull the beast. They see the 12th one there in the armpit of Umar ibn Khattab. Radiallahu anhu, give me those keys. Take those keys and open Jerusalem. We could argue to kingdom come, quote unquote, about liberating Jerusalem. You need people like Umar. You need people like Abu Ubaidah. You need people like Abbas and Abdul Muttalib. They're the ones Allah ta'ala grants the keys to that blessed and sanctified and holy city to Jalla Jalaluhu wa Ta'ala. The Rasul, just like his people, no great concern for clothes, yani. They have no concern for clothes. I remember we used to be with some of our shayukh, yani, and we take the clothes of our shayukh to go and wash them. Take to go and wash them. And then when they get their clothes, that kind of thing, the forgetting part the funny, they get their clothes and they be like this. I can't be too fast and they get the clothes. And I be like, hey, I forget to ask like Liba. He said, clothes, sure, who pays attention to clothes? So, one of them said, one of the Habib says to the Faqih, the only reason we dress like this is for people. It's for da'wah. Well, otherwise, who cares about clothes? Because that's the sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Pay clothes no mind, yani. You got to pay them no mind. Sure, no mind whatsoever. Subhanallah. The Prophet ﷺ, although he did like the hibra ﷺ, and the hibra here is a type of sort of decorated garment that the Rasul ﷺ would wear, which is a type of cloak from the Yemen, which has red and white stripes. ﷺ. And that's like the tradition of Sayyidina Barakah ibn Azib, where he saw the Prophet ﷺ fi hullatil hamra. So the Rasul used to wear a hulla, and a hulla is like a two-piece garment that the Prophet ﷺ would wear. Now what's called a rida, the Rasul wears a rida sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, So the rida is the upper garment, not your upper garment. And now when you open that out, that can become a cloak, upper garment. That's called the rida. From the libas ma'ad. It's from the clothes of ma'ad. And then likewise, that same garment becomes a lungi, becomes a lower garment. Libas ma'ad. That's the libas ma'ad, the clothes of ma'ad. That's in Umar ibn al-Khattab says tama'adu. Remember those two garments that the Rasul wears them, in particular those two garments. Why? Higher signification, divine signification, lordly signification, subhanahu wa ta'ala. As a tradition that what the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, he says, al-azam al-kibriya ridai, kibriya, which is grandeur or arrogance, is my rida, my upper garment. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. And he says, wal-azama izari, and greatness is my lower garment. So Allah now attributes a rida and an izar to himself. Now what the faqir wants to know, if you believe in anthropomorphism, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a face, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has eyes, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has hands and arms and fingernails and feet and shins and sits and stands and walks and runs, and you believe that literally, so why don't you believe that Allah ta'ala literally wears clothes as well? The hadith there, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about his rida, and that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also speaks about his izar, Jalla Jalala wa ta'ala azamatuh. Now, if you're going to quote unquote move into the world of allegory there, then I think it's preferred that you move into allegory hunak as well, also over there. Shuf, inside of the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallama. Man naza'ani fihi ma ulqihi fi nari. Whoever disputes me, neither them I cast him into hell. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. But the Imam say the attribution there of what? Of the izar and the attribution of the rida to the divine subhanahu wa ta'ala means the Rasul now will attribute both of them to himself. He's going to take, quote unquote, to the izar. He's going to take, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to the rida, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And by virtue of his izar, and in particular his rida, the Rasul can be distinguished, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Hullat al-hamra. And of them, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, red striped. He'd have a red striped izar. He'd have a red striped, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, rida, and an upper garment or scarf, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. From his garments, like the hibra, which is a type of cloak from the Yemen that was red, has red and white stripes. Shades are what he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam likes most. That's the qamis. And أحب الثياب إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم القميص. The most beloved of all garments of the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم was the qamis. The qamis is shirt, and that could be a short shirt or a long shirt صلى الله عليه وسلم. But the Rasul likes shirt صلى الله عليه وسلم. And they say why shirt's modest? أستر للبدن. هكذا العلماء, because it covers the body more, shrouds the body more. And the Rasul in his modesty, as we learn, he likes to remain covered. Remember, the Rasul covered ordinarily at home or abroad, in private and in public. The Rasul covered, even hair, covered, The Rasul whilst he walks among companions or he's intimate with his wives, the Rasul covered. The Rasul even the Rasul, and the yastahim, and the yaghtasil, then the Rasul washes, covered, covered, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Hakadha his modesty dictates. Often us with our degrees of modesty, we're modest from those who we don't know. Yeshuf. We're modest from those who we see, quote unquote. But the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also modest from those who he sees. The Prophet sees far further than what any one of us see. The Rasul's modesty extends not only into the unreaches of the universe of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but his modesty extends to Allah. Inna Allah ta'ala hayy yuhibbul haya. Allah ta'ala is modest, and Allah ta'ala loves modesty subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Rasul displays his modesty to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times in the asma' wa ara. Verily I hear and I see you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. Okay, shirts are what he likes most. What's the nature of shirts here? The shirts here, nubuwa. Nubuwa. They say the Rasul took to the shirt. Why? Sayyidina Yusuf, the Anbiya. Sayyidina Yusuf, the shirt of Sayyidina Yusuf alayhi salam. How can the Imam say? On the embracing the commandment of Allah Ta'ala, will be hudahum qatadi. Their guidance, follow it. Follow the guidance of the Prophets themselves. And we see that in the clothes of the Prophet ﷺ in no greater place than in the shirts that the Prophet ﷺ wore. Now that shirt, Barakah, isn't it? How many people desire the shirt of the Rasul ﷺ? Look, Shuf Kalam, look how we mentioned Abdullah ibn Ubay ibn Sulul, the head of the Munafiqun there, that he writes inside of his will, or he doesn't write, and he directly asked the Rasul ﷺ that when he dies, he wants to be buried in the shirt, shrouded in the shirt of the Rasul ﷺ. Abdullah Ibn Ubay Ibn Salul, Ras al-Munafiqeen, the chief of the hypocrites, wants to be shrouded in the shirt of the Rasul ﷺ, and so it came to pass. Sure. Then look at the Rasul with his shirt, how Medina in the shirt of the Rasul ﷺ. Look at a great woman, hadith in Sahih Bukhari, the Ansari woman who comes to the Prophet ﷺ, and she presents to the Rasul a brand new shirt. Ya Rasulullah, I made this shirt with my own hands for you to wear, Ya Rasulullah. And so the Rasul ﷺ takes the shirt ﷺ. Immediately, he's amongst his companions, immediately he stands ﷺ, goes into the house ﷺ. And the Rasul ﷺ emerges now immediately dressed in this new shirt that this beautiful Ansari woman with her own hands had made for the Prophet ﷺ. As we said, Medina, mashallah ta'ala, they're dexterous with the needle, mashallah, habadashari there. And so, mashallah ta'ala, the Rasul now with his shirt, the Rasul sit amongst his companions, sallallahu and the woman says to the Rasul, sallallahu, Ya Rasulullah, give me the shirt back. Give me the shirt back. He said, I said you could wear it and not keep it. Give me the shirt back. Sure. And so the Rasul rises, goes back, sallallahu, takes up the shirt, puts on his old shirt, sallallahu, comes out, gives it the shirt back. Why? Barakah. She wants Barakah of the shirt of the Prophet ﷺ. How does she want? Radiallahu anha wa radaha. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He says, وَفَوْقَ كُلِّ ذِي عِلْمٍ عَلِيمٍ. Above everybody of knowledge is somebody more knowledgeable. So let's look at the great Imams of the 10, yani. Shuf. So the great Imams of the 10 saying Abdurrahman ibn Auf. This is the riwayah number 1. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, rahimahullah ta'ala, he thereby approaches that woman. And he says to the woman, I heard you got a shirt that the Rasul wore. The woman says, yeah. Abdurrahman ibn Auf says, is it possible I can wear it? Gonna just try it on? So the woman, mashallah, Medina, a generous place. So the woman goes inside, she brings out the shirt that the Rasul wore, gives Abdurrahman ibn Auf. Abdurrahman ibn Auf puts on the shirt. Same thing, said you can wear it, now give me it back. Give me the shirt back. So Abdurrahman ibn Auf gives the shirt back to her, he leaves. Abdurrahman ibn intelligent. MashaAllah ta'ala. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, rahimahullah ta'ala, he now puts in his will, I want to be buried in that shirt. Puts it in his will. That shirt, I want to be buried in it. Because now, by wearing it, he has a type of right now over it, isn't it? There's a type of right he has over it through wearing it. How are you going to refuse that? Tradition there says, and so it came to pass. That's the tradition there. Sure. So we get it. Second tradition there, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. A woman, once again, she comes, no doubt, and that's the nature of the Ansar. Their love of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَفِي ذَلِكَ فَيَتَنَافَسَ الْمُتَنَافِسُونَ. Compete in your showing your love, displaying your love of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So next Ansari woman now comes to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, same thing, with a shirt, brand new shirt, Ya Rasulullah. So the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam takes the shirt, he goes in, sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi wa sallam. Then the Rasul emerges now, this new shirt, shuf. And then the Rasul ﷺ sits down. And so a companion there says to the Rasul ﷺ, Ya Rasulullah, please give me that shirt. Like that, Ya Rasulullah, give me that shirt. And then the Rasul ﷺ falls silent. Look at the silence of the Prophet. Falls silent ﷺ. When the Rasul falls silent, as you learn the traditions, everybody else falls silent. They fall silent through his silence ﷺ. Then the Rasul ﷺ, and ba'da after a while, he stands, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and then he leaves. Goes back to the house, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now when he goes back to the house, the silence now turns into commotion. How dare you ask the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam for that shirt? How dare you? But look how he wants here. You know nobody in Medina needs it more than him. Look at the words of the Sahaba. Nobody needs that shirt more than him. Like to wear a shirt He would wear it out. Like nobody needs that shade more than him. So that they're upon him. Who's that companion? Abdurrahman ibn Auf. And Abdurrahman ibn Auf, shuf. It's like shuf. The only reason I asked, because I want to be shrouded in it. I want it as a shroud. And that's why. The Rasul emerges with the shade, now wearing his old shade, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Okay. Prophet presents the shade back, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he takes. So it came to pass. Abdurrahman ibn Auf, buried in the shade of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So we understand the meaning of Barakah. And so we understand the true meaning of the shroud, isn't it? And to be shrouded in the clothes that the Prophet ﷺ had touched. And we don't understand. Well, what type of Barakah is that? What type of Barakah is that? You know, the Rasul ﷺ in his double garment, in his hulla, that two-piece garment, that is what the Rasul ﷺ was wearing when he passed away. When the Prophet passed away, he's wearing a two-piece garment. Sayyidina Asma radiallahu anha wardaha, the elder sister of Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha wardaha, the mother of Sayyidina Abdullah bin Zubayr, Sayyidina Asma radiallahu anha wardaha, so when the Prophet said, عندما قبض رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم قبضتهما عائشة. So when the Rasul qubid, means he died when he was seized, goes to the Barzakh sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, qabadat, Aisha seized the two garments of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam that the Prophet passed away in. Aisha keeps them. You got to ask, why is possibly the greatest and the foremost legal mind of Medina to Munawwara going to keep, quote unquote, the two garments of the Rasul? Lima. Why would Aisha do that? Subhanallah. Then Sayyidina Asma said, وَعِندَمَا قُبِضَتْ عَائِشَةً. So now when Aisha qubidat, when Aisha now, she dies radiallahu ta'ala anha wardaha, and look, she dies at the exact same age as the Rasul, 63 years of age. Prophet dies at 63 years of age, Aisha dies at 63 years of age. 63 years of age radiallahu ta'ala anha wardaha. When the Rasul died, she was 18 years of age, Sayyidina Aisha radiallahu anha wardaha. And so thereby, she says, what does Asma say? Qabattuhuma. I took hold of them. Then she gives us a sir. وَكُنْتُ أُغَسِّلُهُمَا وَأُدَاوِيَ سِبْيَانٍ فِي الْمَدِينَةِ. I used to wash them, and then I used to take the water and treat the children in Medina to that water, that had touched the blessed clothes of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Strange to some of us, yet you ain't seen Medina. There's not a single morning inside the Medina to Munawwara that when they got at the crack of dawn, or as Malcolm said, from can't see in the morning to can't see at night, when they quote unquote, when they're taking the water from the wells, the Abar of Medina to Munawwara, the first thing they do with their water in their buckets, their jonia, they bring it to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Can you imagine the Rasul? All the Rasul is doing is just placing his hands in each and every single bucket. That's what he's doing. There's not a drop of water that somebody drinks or somebody washes with in Medina to Munawwara, say that it's Mubarak min qibla sahibul barakah, from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa alihi wa sallam. And people got to get real about this, And you ain't seeking barakah from the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wa sallam. What then are you seeking, If barakah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wa sallam has no meaning for you inside of life, then what is the meaning of life that you have, No, Allah Ta'ala, Tabarak alladhi biyadihil mulk. Allah Ta'ala Tabarak, blessed is He. And Allah Ta'ala Tabarak, Allah Ta'ala Yubarik. Tabarak Allah ahsan al-khaliqeen. Allah Yubarik. Allah Ta'ala blesses. And there's no reality that Allah Ta'ala blesses like the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Everything about him was blessed. And everything he came into contact with was blessed. And those who connect to him become blessed by extension. Shuf Kala. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah ta'ala. You know Ahmad ibn Hanbal, he saw Allah 100 times. So we can frame him. So we know what we're speaking about. He saw Allah ta'ala 100 times. The great Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, the Imam of Ahlul Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Ahmad ibn Hanbal, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, whenever I got sick, I used to have a shirt of Imam al-Shafi'i. I used to wash it, drink the water, and it immediately healed. What are you going to say about that? Don't get me mad now. Sunday night, we had a long day in the madrasa today, innit? Long day. You know, it's bad day, so, Imam Ahmed drinking the water that was used to wash the shirt of Shafi'i. And then you can even ask, why is he even keeping the shirt of Shafi'i in the first place? And then the Rasul says, Kayfa bad to deed to dad. As you treat others, others shall treat you. Shafi'i had the shirt of Ahmed. So when he got sick, he likewise used to wash the shirt of Ahmed. Drink that water, healed, Man, the NHS ain't thought of that one, they ain't thought of that one, so if they thought of it, So, I'm telling you, it's sort of it. So, the greatest medicine that the world has ever, will ever see, Barakah. Muhammadiyya, that Barakah. Nothing greater than it. It heals, it heals. MashaAllah, tabarakallah. Share to what he liked most, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, astar bil badan, that they cover, they envelop, quote unquote, the body. That is from the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, with barakah, with barakah, with barakah. MashaAllah. Whenever he put on new clothes, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he would say, in the tradition, before he would say, kana yusammihi bi ismi, the tradition. He used to call the garment by his name. Subhanallah, isn't it? Subhanallah. And the Rasul has a personal relationship with his clothes. Then Aisha looked shuf, and the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, excuse me, we're coming, Allahu a'lam, we're coming to the chapter on the wives of the Prophet, and wives in plurality, the wives of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Medina, where we're at now, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he's radical in his polygyny, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But his clothes, he only has eyes for one. Subhanallah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Aisha said the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam only has one of any garment. Look at that. He's a monogamist in his clothing. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And every item of clothing the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has, he gives it a name. A name, Every item of clothing has its own personal name. And he will not put on that item of clothing, say that he calls it by its name. Kana yusammihi bi ismih. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. And then he testajadda thawba. Then when he put on new clothes, ma'na of the meaning, a jadid, or istajadda thawba, when he just renew, put on clothes. They don't have to be new. Because what do you mean the Prophet put on new clothes? When? Like when did the Rasul going to put on new clothes? Ghayat al-amr, furthest thing, once Eid, innit? That's why it's sunniyah to wear brand new clothes. Eid, Ghayat al-amr. The Prophet has new clothes. So that this dua is only the one, yadhkurullah fi kulli ahyanin. He remembers Allah Ta'ala in each and every single moment. So the meaning, new clothes, or the meaning just to put on clothes. Because of the dua of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Oh God, to you belongs all praise. Ordinarily, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. I remember as the Rasul said, some of the people still freaking out over the fact that he got a twin jinn from the class the other night. But you got a twin jinn. One of the ways you negate your twin jinn is to make sure when you put on your clothes to Bismillah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. And now you make the dua of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Allahumma lakal hamd. Oh God, to you belongs all praise. Kama kasawtanihi iya. Look at the Rasul. Just as you are the one who donned me in this clothing. Look at that recognition there. Isn't it? It's like in food. Alhamdulillah alladhi at'amana wa asqana. Look at that. You eat food. Praise be to the one who at'amana. Yut'imani wa yusqin, as Ibrahim says in the Quran. Allah is the one who feeds me. Allah is the one who allows me to drink. And the Rasul, all praises to the one who allowed me to eat and allowed me to drink. وَجَعَلَنَا الْمُسْلِمِينَ, and made us Muslims. And now with the clothes, كَمَا كَسَوْتَنِي إِيَّا, just as you have done me in these clothing. You think about it, like since when, have you put on clothes and you have clearly attributed the fact that now your nakedness is clothed? You've attributed to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the meanings of Tawheed, You get the point? Like in a sense, Tawheed is an attitude, It's like Tawheed is not just what you have, quote unquote, when you're inside of a dars. Tawheed is not just what you have, quote unquote, when you, quote unquote, there's an argument ensuing between you and next man about, what is sort of Tawheed, al-uluhiyya wa rububiyya wa al-asma wa sifat. Not just that, Tawheed is an attitude that permeates everything, everything you do, everything you say, everything you feel. That's Tawheed. Look, he's putting on clothes. That's in recognition to the statement of Allah. Look at Allah Ta'ala. Ibn Adam, kullukum aar. Kullukum aar. All of you are naked. Illa man kasawtu. Except the one I have clothed. Fastaksuni aksukum. Seek clothing of me and I shall clothe you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, seek clothing of me and I shall clothe you. Allah Jalla Jalaluhu wa ta'ala with libas al-taqwa, that type of kisa. With libas al-taqwa, mashallah, Tabarakallah. Hakada, mashallah ta'ala. No, to be clothed in those grand garments. And all those grand garments, they all relate to grand people. And no one grander than the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sure, innit? Now, even the Kaaba there, you know the Kaaba? Like what? Who clothed the Kaaba and quote unquote in the greatest clothing of the Kaaba? The mother of Abbas, innit? Of Abbas and Abdul Muttalib. And she swore an oath, She swore an oath. Abbas got lost as a young boy. She swore an oath, if we find Abbas, we're going to dress the Kaaba. And they found Abbas, and she dressed the Kaaba. Kiswa there. Ar illa man kasawtu. Naked except the one I have clothed, placed the kisa upon. Fastaksuni yaksikum. Likewise you. See clothing of me, and I shall clothe you. Allah Jalla Jalaluhu wa Ta'ala says, and there's nothing better than the clothes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala dons you in. Oh God, to you belongs all praise, as you have clothed me in it. I ask you for the good of it and the good for which it was made. Look at the ethics there, isn't it? It's not just the good of the clothes, like وَخَيْرَ مَا سُنِعَ عَلَى. What's sunya? The sani'. Who manufactured it, yani? Who manufactured those clothes? You know, I know we're all going all ape about the French now, innit? But maybe the Chinese also deserve a bit, isn't it? What they're doing to our Uyghurs there. Sorry. The Fakir was speaking to somebody else recently. These people are getting close from China. The Fakir was like, sorry. Hold up a bit, yani. Until then, people start treating our fellow brothers and sisters inside of Islam properly, then Afwan, we got a problem with the Chinese. It's got to be said. We don't mean every Chinese person. We don't mean everyone. But sure, we still got a problem, haven't we? Because that ain't fair. You know, the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Hadith al-Bukhari, there was a time where people, their nerves and their flesh and their blood was stripped off their bones. Why? Because of their belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, we live in an age where people now, their religion has been stripped from them. Their faith has been stripped from them. And people from the ummah of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam and the ummah of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam sits, quote unquote, silent, quote unquote, whilst Rome is burning or whatever it is. Subhanallah, the ummah in the age in which we live in. Nasar Allah, salam wal afiyah. Oh God, to you belongs all praise. As you have clothed me, I ask you for the good of it and the good for what it was manufactured for. We've got to take this back to the source, yani. And I take refuge in you from the evil of it and from the evil from what it was made, manufactured. Sunni ala. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, look at the du'as. And as a means of taqarrub ila Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He was fond of green-colored garments, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And when we say green-colored garments, green pinstripes that dominate green. But remember the Arabs, green and blue sawasiya. And their sort of, remember, color, quote unquote, is inside of the human head. It's not outside of the human head. It's inside of the human head. So different cultures have different color palettes that they see, yani. Don't think everybody sees the same color. It's one of the fascinating things about this complex organism that is called man. And so the Arabs, green and blue is the same. It's the same. Akada is the same. And so the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam meant green colored garments, green and blue stripe. That's like when you go to the deserts of the Sahara. Look, like we see it, they wear them blue in it. And you see the Mauritanians, that bright, huh? Them that's green. It's green as well. They're like, no, it isn't, it's blue. Whatever. Isn't it? Whatever. Sometimes he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would just wear a single waist wrapper. That's the lungi of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. MashaAllah ta'ala. And tie its ends upon one of his shoulders. Okay, and so that's a longer garment, and that garment, we know the Prophet was wearing that towards the end of his life, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. It's one garment, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Rasul's wrapped with it, and then ties it at this end, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Hakad in the tradition, that's how the Rasul, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he's brought into the masjid, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in the final illness, by Sayyidina Usama, and Sayyidina Ali, and Sayyidina Fadl, Ibn Abbas, and Qutham, there, when he's brought into the masjid, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the Rasul's resting upon them, he just has one garment which he's tied, quote unquote, at the shoulder, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The simplicity of the clothing of the Rasul, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, and how it should be wrapped. It's like in the tradition of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, not just for men, for women, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam goes to the house of his blessed daughter, Sayyidatuna Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. And when the Rasul, the daughter Sayyidina Fatima alayhi salam, she asked the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who's with you? Do you have anybody with you? And then the Prophet ﷺ says to Imran, yani saying Imran ibn Hussein. And so then Sayyidina Fatima says, and Sayyidina Imran ibn Hussein, al-Ghair Mahram there. So she's not quote unquote, yani, in a presentable for somebody who's Ghair Mahram. And so the Rasul steps inside, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. So she just has this one garment, this one piece of cloth. And so the Rasul said to Sayyidina Fatima with lafihi hakada wa hakada. And he shows her, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, how to take the garment and how to sort of begin to wrap the garment so she's completely concealed. This is one piece of cloth. And that's one thing the Rasul himself, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, knew himself how to do, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And all that becomes a love of Sayyidina Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. I mean, to dress in that manner. And that's why when Sayyidina Fatima radiallahu anha wardaha, she saw Sayyidina Asma bint Umays. Sayyidina Asma bint Umays, who at this time was the wife of Sayyidina Ja'far. The wife of Sayyidina Ja'far al-Tayyar. Remember, she's the wife of Sayyidina Ja'far. After the death of Ja'far, the martyrdom of Ja'far, she becomes the wife of Sayyidina Abu Bakr al-Siddiq. After the death of Sayyidina Abu Bakr al-Siddiq, there's a riwayah from our teachers that she became the wife of Sayyidina Abdurrahman ibn Auf. Although we've not seen that riwayah. We've not seen it, but we heard it, that she became the wife of Abdurrahman ibn Auf. But we do know she ends up as the wife of Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib. Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib is the last of her husbands. But look at her. Yani, she's married to the two brothers. Yani. She married Sayyidina Ja'far, her first husband, Sayyidina Ali, her last husband. Yani. The sons of Abu Talib, radiallahu anha. That's Asma bint Umays, radiallahu anha, wardaha, when she migrated to Abyssinia with Sayyidina Ja'far. So when she returns, she'd completely embraced the culture of the Abyssinians, completely embraced it, to the point that Sayyidina Umar ibn al-Khattab used to see her, he used to say, Ya Habashiyya, Abyssinian woman, you're an Abyssinian woman now. Sayyidina Umar used to address Sayyidina Asma bint Umays, great woman, Sayyidina Asma, wardaha. But now in embracing the culture of the Abyssinians, that when, mashallah ta'ala, when Sayyidina Fatima saw that, and she's been taught by the Rasul how to wrap, how to dress, I like that, the way she's dressed, mashallah, Sayyidina Asma bint Umays. And so now Sayyidina Fatima Zahra now makes her wasiyah that nobody shrouds me except Asma bint Umays. So Asma bint Umays becomes, mashallah ta'ala, the one who shrouds Sayyidina Fatima Zahra alayhi salam. In traditions, exclusively other traditions, there were others from amongst the Mawali, women from amongst the Mawali who assisted Sayyidina Asma bint Umays, radiallahu ta'ala anha wa ardaha. Okay, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sometimes he would just wear a single waist wrapper and tie its ends up on one of his shoulders. On a Friday, he used to have, in the tradition, he used to have special clothes for the Friday. So there's a set of clothes that Rasul would wear just for Friday. And in terms of what the ulama understand, but it's not necessarily clear in tradition that those clothes would be white. So it's clear that the fuqaha upon the sunnah of wearing white clothes on a Jum'ah. The great Imam Ibrahim Bajuri, rahimahullah ta'ala, he says everything should be white, inward and outward. What people can see, what people can't see, everything should be white. Ibrahim Bajuri, the great Imam Ashar, rahimahullah ta'ala. And so here the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam had special clothes that he would wear. White is what we ordinarily understand. And the Rasul would command that, ilbasul bid. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam says, wear white. Wear white, ilbasul bid. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, وَكَفِّنُوا مَوْتَاكُمْ بِهِ. And then likewise also shroud your dead in it. Those who die from amongst you, likewise shroud them in white. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, فَإِنَّهُ مِنْ خِيَارِ لِبَاسِكُمْ. He said, because it's from the best of your clothing. White, the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said. And so on a Friday, the Prophet would put on his red cloak, and wear a turban. That's the outer garment of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, from the redness pinstripes, red stripes, the garment. And we be careful of that, because obviously the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has forbidden us wearing red, forbidden it. The Rasul says, min libas ahl al-nari, it's from the clothes of the people of hell. So when you hear tradition that Rasul wore red, it doesn't mean, like what you call fatih or khalis. It's not like pure red. Okay, it's broken up by other colors. Although you could say, well, the dominant color is red, but it's not completely red. That's how the ulama join between these two types of traditions, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And not like the tradition of saying Barakah ibn Azib, Ra'aytu Rasulullah fi hullat al-hamra. Okay, I saw him inside of this red pinstriped garment, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And likewise, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam also wearing a turban, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, al-imama, which is Taj al-Arab. This is like the crown of the Arabs. They used to call the turban the crown of the Arabs. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wears it not because he's Arab, but because the angels mu'tamim, because the angels wear turbans. And so the Rasul, now the turban, they say, is mashallah tabarakallah, in general, is from the angelic horizon. Okay, on the angelic horizon. Although, you often mention, and we mention it just to mention it so we get the point, get the point, we mention it, is in a great work that's called Zad al-Ma'ad, which is a great work written by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, Dimishqi, Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. And so the book, mashallah ta'ala, in terms of the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in terms of what the shama'il of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in terms of even things like Tib, Nabawi, prophetic medicine, that book, a masterpiece by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. And the great Imam Hadramaut, Imam Abdullah al-Haddad, rahimahullah ta'ala, never left the book. He says, Safaran wa la hadara. Doesn't matter whether he's at home or abroad, traveling or within the city of Tarim, he always has the book with him. Zad al-Ma'ad by Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. So Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, this is the chapter of the turban of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What does he say? We mention it just to get the point. Often is that he says that, because Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, and no doubt there's a degree of controversy that surrounds Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah. I remember he's the greatest student, quote unquote, of whom Ibn Taymiyyah, Taqiyuddin Ahmed Ibn Taymiyyah. And so now Ibn Qayyim, he says in Zad al-Ma'ad, in the chapter of the turban, he says the strangest thing that I ever heard from Ibn Taymiyyah. What was the strange thing you ever heard from Ibn Taymiyyah? And he said that Ibn Taymiyyah said that the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who the Rasul, of the ways he wears his turban sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Rasul has a veil. And so a veil is a tail. So the Rasul will have a tail. There'll be a tail that ordinarily in most traditions hangs between his two shoulder blades. A tail. Remember, that tail of the Rasul could come left side. Some say could come right side, could come left side, or even without a tail. But the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, more often than not, it has a tail that goes between his two shoulder blades. That's more so the norm. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam with his turban, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And so he says that, well, why would the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam have this tail of his turban beneath his two shoulder blades? And so he says, Ibn Taymiyyah, rahimahullah ta'ala, what he says is that the reason he has that is for a divine reason. And it relates to a hadith in the Sunnah of Imam al-Tirmidhi, where the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he manifests at Fajr for the Sahaba who are waiting for the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to lead Fajr. And then the Prophet ﷺ says to him, do you know what delayed me? Do you know why I'm delayed? He's on time, but delayed, not on normal time. Do you know why? And he said, Allah and His Messenger knows best. And so the Prophet ﷺ says, Ra'aytu Rabī, I saw my Lord, fi ahsana surah, in the greatest manifestation. فقال لي, and he says to me, subhanahu wa ta'ala, Ya Muhammad, O Muhammad, do you know what the Mala yukhasimu an? Do you know what the Mala are now discussing? What are the Mala? The Mala, the high assembly of angels and the prophets. What are they now discussing in the world of the unseen? And then the Prophet ﷺ says, قُلْتُ لَا أَعْرِفُ يَا رَبَّ, I said, I don't know, my Lord. So hakada, the tradition as it plays out, so thereby the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and I'm going to use broader terms. I understand the literal terms, I'm going to use broader terms, because we don't know who's here online, you know what I mean? Don't know who's here, yeah. So we just got to be careful with what we say. So Allah ta'ala yatajalla, Allah ta'ala now manifests through the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam until the Rasul sallallahu alayhi, what's the word, manifests through my two shoulder blades. To the two shoulder blades. So Ibn Taymiyyah here is saying that, this is what he's saying to Ibn Qayyim, that the reason the Rasul has the tail of the turban in that exact place is reminding of that moment when Allah Ta'ala manifested at that exact place. Now you take that the way you want to take it, but it is a very profound statement, but take it the way you want to take it, yani. But that is the word of Ibn Taymiyyah. I'm not saying take it the way you want to take it. That's what the faqir would say. You know, subhanallah. Araftum, subhanallah. That is, Ibn Taymiyyah, Ibn Qayyim said, no, I had never heard anything more strange than that, yani, that he heard from Ibn Taymiyyah and of himself. Subhanallah. What do you want? That veil there, Rabbani, lordly. That's his turban. So although the genetics of the turban is angelic, but mashallah ta'ala, it also becomes what? Yani, divine. Reminds him of the divine subhanahu wa ta'ala. And obviously the turban of the Rasul has هكذا the turban of the Rasul goes. هكذا the turban of the Rasul. هكذا. That's the most oft-weighted turban. I don't have it long enough, but هكذا. That, it has a hanak there. COVID. Rasul's already got that on his turban, yani. So it's already got the mask part. That's why we got the hank, the tahniq, هكذا. And often that's the way of the turban of the Rasul with Senate, and it's the way also of the turban of the Imams of Medina, etc. That's why the great Imam Malik ibn Anas, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, I never gave fatwa in Medina to Munawwara until 70 of the Muhannikeen. That's what he used to call the Imams of the Muhannikeen, the ones who wore their turban like this, like the Rasul, Sunnah. Until 70 of the Muhannikeen gave me permission. Till I got license from 70 of them to now give fatwa in Medina to Munawwara. But show how he describes them by virtue of Taj, of the crown, yani the turban, mashallah, tabarakallah, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Okay? Now he would wear a silver ring on his right little finger. Khansar. Also the bansar, these two fingers. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ would wear what? Would wear a ring, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Rasul ﷺ begins to wear a ring in the 6th year of Medina to Munawwara. 6th year after Hijrah, where he begins to make the ring, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Saying Ya'la ibn Umayyah, in the Sunnah of Imam Ad-Daraqutni, said Ya'la ibn Umayyah said, I am the one who made the ring of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Nobody else but me made it. I'm the one who crafted that ring. His name is Ya'la ibn Umayyah rahimahullah ta'ala. He's the ring maker and the ring holder from the Yemen. His name is Mu'aqib, Abu Fatima Mu'aqib al-Dawsi, from Daws, the same clan as Tufail bin Amr and of Abu Huraira, Abdurrahman ibn Sakhar, and that tribe of Daws from the Yemen, rahimahullah ta'ala. Also a great individual called Mu'aqib al-Dawsi, rahimahullah ta'ala, is the one who used to hold the ring. I remember the Rasul sallallahu has different rings. What we're speaking about, the ring of Nubuwwah, of prophecy, which he wants here, upon it was engraved, Muhammad is the messenger of God. That ring the Rasul wouldn't ordinarily wear. He wouldn't ordinarily wear. That's why, when we see it made, and mashallah, barakah, but even the Shafi'i fuqaha consider it to be makruh to wear that ring. To wear a ring upon it is great Muhammad Rasul. They consider it to be makruh. Hakad the Shafi'i fuqaha, Although we've seen many of the Shafi'i imams, even Hadramaut, wearing the ring, Okay, but hakad the text say there's a karahir in it. Part of it is the Rasul doesn't wear that ring. He just stamps with that ring. It's not a ring that he ordinarily wears. That ring ordinarily is in the hands of Sayyidina Mu'aqib, rahimahullah ta'ala. Okay, Ad-Dawsi, and upon whom Tolkien creates the golem, and the figure of the golem, because he had that type of appearance, like full of leprosy. Sayyidina Mu'aqib Ad-Dawsi, rahimahullah ta'ala, walking in the shadows, quote unquote, people staying aloof from him. And that's not until the age of Umar ibn Khattab. Umar ibn Khattab, Umar ibn Khattab used to take a bowl, tell Mu'aqib to drink Mu'aqib. Mu'aqib would drink, so give me the bowl. And he would take the bowl, put his lips exactly where the lips of Mu'aqib were. Look, we hear the tradition of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas doing that with the Prophet sallallahu. Umar ibn Khattab would do what Sayyidina Abu Fatima there. Right? The exact place, drink. What do you mean? He's sure. The people, he's a leper, from the shadows, until Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab, rahimahullah ta'ala, he stood at Hajj every year. He'd stand at Hajj, and Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab would ask the people at Hajj, at the mawqif at Hajj, does anybody have a cure for Mu'aqib, for his leprosy? Every year he would ask. Until this particular year, the people of Yemen stood, of Yemen. He said, Shuf, it's not a cure complete, but we can stop it in its tracks. It's not going to get any worse. So Umar ibn Khattab said, Kayf. So they requested a set of herbs from Sayyidina Umar. You bring us those herbs, we'll sort it. Umar ibn Khattab got the herbs, mashallah ta'ala. They made the concoction. They anointed Sayyidina Mu'aqib, mashallah. Khalas, mashallah. It abated, quote unquote, the leprosy of Sayyidina Mu'aqib, rahimahullah ta'ala. He's the ring holder, okay? And it's going to be said from his hand the ring was lost. A ring of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Rasul used to stamp with it from the hands of Mu'aqib. If he needed it, he'd summon Mu'aqib. Mu'aqib would take off the ring, give it to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Rasul would now stamp letters, official letters with the ring, and take off the ring, give it back to Mu'aqib. Every time he needed it, he summoned it from Mu'aqib. In the age of Khilafat al-Rashida, Abu Bakr summoned the same ring. Abu Bakr has his own ring, but to stamp letters, he uses the ring of Nubuwwah. Likewise, the age of Umar ibn Khattab. Likewise also, Umar has his own ring. He has his own ring engraved on it, on the ring of Umar ibn Khattab. Kafa bil maut wa'idan ya Umar. Look at his ring. Kafa bil maut wa'idan ya Umar. Death suffices you as an admonition, O Umar. That's on his ring, the ring of Abi ibn Khattab, rahimahullah ta'ala. But Umar ibn Khattab, when he wants to stamp now official letters on behalf of Khilafat al-Rashida, summons Mu'aqib, bring the ring. Mu'aqib brings the ring, stamps the letters, gives it back to Mu'aqib. Sure, to the age of Uthman ibn Affan. Remember the age of Fitan, the age of Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan, rahimahullah ta'ala. The age of Uthman ibn Affan, 12 years. 12 years. It splits into two. 6 years, the first 6 years, like the age of Umar. 6 years, the last 6 years, like the age of Ali, age of Fitan, last 6 years. What does it return back to? The loss of the ring. The loss of the ring. Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan, rahimahullah ta'ala, he's at Bi'r al-Aris, and that well that the Rasul spits into, so it's going dry, then it overflows by Quba, and Bi'r al-Aris. And so Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan now, who's the great, he's the Imam of the wells, isn't he? And he buys Bi'r Ruma, the great well of Ruma, upon Hijrah into Medina Munawwara. And the Rasul guaranteed him paradise for Bi'r Ruma. For buying Bi'r Ruma and making it a public well. The Rasul guarantees in Uthman ibn Affan paradise. And so now Uthman ibn Affan, in his age, 6 years after Khilafat, in his age, he now is expanding the well of Aris, the famous well of the Prophet ﷺ. And he's sitting up on the edge of the well, overseeing the reconstruction of the well. And so now he wants to stamp a letter. Summons Mu'aqib, saying Abu Fatima, radiallahu ta'ala anhu warḍah. Mu'aqib comes with the ring. And upshot is, when he goes to give the ring to Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan, the ring falls into the well. And then there are variant riwayas. One of the most interesting of the riwayas, though, if we're all getting into the Lord of the Rings and tokens narrative, is that in the riwayah that Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan, kana yal'abu bihi, which one becomes one of the symbols of token. You know, with the ring, that's tradition says. How can Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan, then the ring falls out into the well. Falls out into the well. So Uthman ibn Affan retrieved the ring. They dive in it for 3 days, 24 hours, 24/7. 3 days they're into the water, trying to retrieve the ring. Ring gone, yani. Gone. Subhanallah, gone. That ring gone, subhanallah. Fakir say subhanallah. Because I'm telling you, why am I smiling? Man, I have ideas of getting down into that well, you know. Wouldn't that be a great find, in it? You know, people go, you know, Raiders of the Lost Ark and all that type of stuff. Wouldn't it be great, man? Let's just send an expedition out there. Yeah, they get permission from quote unquote those people there who could claim they rule the Haramain, the Sharifain. Let's get some permission there. Well, let's get into the well, yeah. Subhanallah. No, the ring gone, and from that now, fitan have entered into the ummah of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam till Yawm al-Qiyamah. Yawm al-Qiyamah, from the loss of the ring. That day, the ring of power, the true ring of power. Yani. So that ring gone. Not even at the end of time. At the end of time, the beast, the Dabba, returns with the ring of Sulaiman. After you call the ring of power, the ring of the Prophet Sulaiman. He comes with the ring of Sulaiman and he stamps every believer, even the son of Mary, with the ring of Sulaiman. Okay? You know, subhanallah. La ilaha illa ana. Muhammadun Rasuli. That's the ring of Sulaiman. Look at on the ring. There is no deity but I, Muhammad is my messenger. Subhanallah. That's the ring of Sulaiman, the ring of power. Subhanallah. And that's what every believer at the end of time is stamped with. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sends the rih. You understand what the rih is? You know, trying to, what is that? Virus. Allah sends a virus, takes the life of every person stamped. Jalla jalalu ta'ata azamatu ashar al-qawm. Now the most wicked and sinister of people remain upon the face of the earth. Not a single believer. No one says La ilaha illallah. Nobody says Allah, Allah. Nobody. Subhanallah. Nobody. Like nobody. Like we have not seen a moment when somebody has not said Allah, Allah. Since the beginning of time. People have said Allah, Allah. People have said La ilaha illallah. And the time comes when there's not a single voice that says Allah, Allah, La ilaha illallah. Subhanallah. And we're heading to it fast, yani. Like fast, yani. So fast. Now, one of the brothers in the madrasa said, Allah, watching, you don't know him, but I just think, mashallah ta'ala, he comes to the faqih today, he said, like, I had this dream, you know. I said, like, what's the dream? I said, what's the dream? People come to me with their dreams. I said, dream facing good or bad? He says, no, it wasn't bad, but I don't have dreams. But this was like a strange dream. I said, so what's the dream there? What's the dream? He says, I'm like sort of in this sort of place, the roosts are taking place, Yadi. And he said, it's sort of like the micro, but I know durus will all take a place. So durus will all take a place. And then, subhanAllah, Akadri says, I'm just saying it as a point, as I'm thinking, I'm deciding whether to say the dream actually. But like, anyway, he says he did his daras, and then a man walks into the daras. And so the man comes straight to him. And this brother saying, look, like, I was really scared. He said, why? He said, I don't want to be scared. He says, Shuf, I don't have dreams like that. Yeah, this dream came to me. So he says that this man came to him and introduced himself to him inside the dream state. And the man says, Shuf, he said, I'm Abu Ayyub al-Ansari. So he said, Abu Ayyub al-Ansari approaches him inside the dream state. It's only 5 weeks ago, he said he had this dream. Abu Ayyub al-Ansari, and Abu Ayyub al-Ansari says, I've been sent by the Prophet ﷺ to inform you, to inform so-and-so that the Mahdi is about to arrive. It's about to. And the point is, the Rasul ﷺ there, he said at the end of time that the dream of the believer will almost never lie. Never lie, the Rasul ﷺ says. No, Shuf, and I'm making it clear now, we ain't taking no Mahdi questions. We ain't taking no Mahdi questions, so you better sort of hold those typing fingers, because we're not going to take no Mahdi questions tonight. So, but what we've got to think about is how close the end is, yani. That's what we've really got to pay mind to, how close the end is. Okay? There's an imperative inside of our age. La ilaha illa ana. There is no deity but I, Muhammad is my, that's what you want stamped. Muhammad is my messenger, right there upon your forehead at the end of time, yani. Tayyib. He ﷺ used to love perfume and be aware. From the other ring of the Rasul, which you'd ordinarily wear, it had one of two gemstones. It either had the gemstone of Aqiq. And so Aqiq is in what you call a gate. So it'd be a gate. It's a gate stone. Or the Rasul ﷺ would have a ring, the gemstone was what's called Jaza'. And Jaza' is onyx. So those two stones, they're sunnah. And a gate or onyx. And that he would normally wear. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And it's more so that if we try to look carefully into the words of the Imam rahimahullah ta'ala, that's what's meant. The Prophet used to love perfume. He used to love it, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. I remember the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was the definition of perfume. You know, his sweat, yani, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, yani, atyab min at-tib, was more fragrant than tib, the sweat of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then, look at it, you know, the family who come to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and their daughters getting married, and they're poor, quote unquote, and they can't even afford perfume for their daughter up on their wedding night. And so the Rasul just asked, bring me a qarura, bring me sort of small container. And then the Rasul says, so from here, from there, the Rasul now begins to correct his sweat, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Remember saying Aisha would say, kana mi'araqa. The Rasul, he sweated a lot, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He sweated profusely. But his sweat, mashallah. MashaAllah ta'ala. That shows you purity, isn't it? Pure, yani. Because you know, odor, what is that? You know, when you sweat and there's an odor? It's not the sweat that has the odor. It's the bacteria. You dirty. You dirty. And it's the bacteria intermingling with the sweat. That's what brings about that odor. But shuf the Rasul, subhanallah, athar. Nothing more pure than the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, Allahu Alam, you know, and alhamdulillah we have the dars in a bit of bust, yani. But Allahu Alam, I think we should create our own dictionary, isn't it? What do you reckon? Create a dictionary, isn't it? So when you see pure, you just put Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Let me look at perfect. What does perfect mean? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Oh, try. What about beautiful? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What about courageous? Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Every word of praise, the definition is simply Muhammad. Don't forget the sallallahu alaihi wasallam at the end of it. That should be our dictionary, isn't it? Definitions of meanings. فَهُوَ الَّذِي تَمَّ مَعْنَاهُ. Allah is the one who completed the meaning of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in all perfection. And so the Rasul used to love perfume, even though he was perfume, even though there's no perfume whatsoever, perfume of the kings, there's no perfume whatsoever that compares to the sweat of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You know, some people, they find that strange. Like, you find that strange. Why you find that strange? Like, why are you going to find that strange, yani? Can I ask you a question? Like, the question, what's musk? Tell me what musk is. From the gland of a musk deer, a gland there, that even the fuqaha are going to tell you, it's not najis, you know. Although it's blood, it's not najis. So, sure, like the king of all perfumes is like blood that comes from the gland of a musk deer. Or let's call it the queen, which is amber, is like the vomit of a whale, yani. So hold up a minute, yani. You don't have a problem with blood from a deer or vomit from a whale, but you have a trouble trying to understand the sweat of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Naughty, you naughty, yani. You're a naughty boy, yani. Show off, naughty, yani. You can't be, yani. Show off, yani. The mind's got to kick in here, yani. Got to kick in. That's the least, quote unquote. And then when you approach him, negate it completely. Because even then you can't even understand who he was and what it was, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Loved perfume. So why does he love perfume? Yani, excuse my French, and excuse my French by using the French, yani, excuse it, yani, because we don't smell like him. We got bacteria, yani. You sure? So the Rasul loves perfume, محل الاتباع. So we become people who love perfume. ولا إسراف في الطيب. And there's no extravagance whatsoever in teeb or perfume. You get the point? You know, shuf. I remember when I was growing up, there used to be this sort of, Allahu A'lam what it was, but I just remember, all I can remember is the sort of, the vocable there, which was spend. That's what for teeb in it. That's, well, teeb, spend. MashaAllah. He loved perfume. You know, Allah Ta'ala loves fragrance. The angels love fragrance. The Rasul Sallallahu loves fragrance, sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. You knew where the Rasul Sallallahu was in Medina? Fragrance, isn't it? They could just walk through the streets and smell him in the streets of Medina, open air. And you could smell the Prophet Sallallahu wa sallam. You could approach a child and the Rasul being past here. Never would he walk past the child, say that he caresses the hair of the child. MashaAllah, tabarakallah, fragrant. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. One saying Ibrahim ibn Azib is running after the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, saying Prophet leaves the mosque and the Rasul walking past the children there and he's caressing the heads of the children. Sure. As I say, the Bara radiallahu anhu warda, Bara yani, come on, Bara's getting on a bit in age. He's still young, but he's not a child yani. But Bara's like, what about me yani? So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, the Rasul ﷺ takes and caresses me. He said, see that side he caressed? It never altered, one, and it became fragrant. Can you imagine old age? You know, you see the two sides of a person's faces? How can his face became in old age? Saying Bara ibn Azib, rahimahullah ta'ala. That's his own words, because he was touched by the Rasul upon that day. That fragrant side of his face, radiallahu anhu warda. Saying the Jabir ibn Abdullah, rahimahullah ta'ala, he said, I'm on a beast with the Prophet ﷺ, on a beast with the Rasul. And so you know, he gets a glimpse of the seal, yani, Khatam al-Nabuwah. So he's looking at the seal, yani, looking at the seal. He's saying the Jabir, you know, saying the Jabir couldn't resist. You know, that's the difference between male and female, yani. And the great Sahabiyya anha wardaha, Qurayza, she says, I heard the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, Layla bint Makhrama, I heard the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam say, I look at her weight, an exact weight, and I was so close to him, I could have kissed the seal. That's why I could have kissed, I was so close, right behind the Rasul, I could have kissed the seal, she said. Adab, obviously she didn't, but I could have, she said. And the Arsh of the Rahman shuddered upon his death, saying to Sa'ad ibn Mu'adh. I could the hadith, saying to Layla, radiallahu anha, wardaha. Saying to Jabir ibn Abdullah, I'm behind the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Not that I was so close to the seal, I could have kissed it, I kissed it. Saying to Jabir, starts kissing the seal of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on his back. He said, when I come off the seal, you know, perfume. I kind of into the face of Sayyidina Jabir, rahimahullah ta'ala. What do you think Sayyidina Jabir's face became after that? The son of the martyr there, Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Haram. Subhanallah. They were blessed people in there. Barakah upon Barakah. He's a love perfume. And we should love whatever he loves, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And be averse to bad odors, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He used to say, verily God has placed my delight in women. The Rasul loved women, yani. And for the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, israf fin nisa. And he goes to lengths with women, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Just in case we didn't understand that, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has a deep and a profound love of women, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sayyidina Qadi Iyad rahimahullah ta'ala, inside of his Shifa, he said, there's no holding back in that regard. Like Sayyidina Qadi Iyad rahimahullah ta'ala, when he speaks about the nature of like food, the damaging nature of food, that there needs to be taqleel, or the damaging nature of speech, that needs to be taqleel, and you've got to be frugal in them. Then he gets to quote unquote intimacy with women. He said, no frugality there. It's got to be excess. That's what he said. And what is he speaking about? He ain't speaking about sort of worldly pleasures here. He's speaking about spiritual purification, how the soul is purified. So don't start getting it twisted here. Because this here, and the Prophet ﷺ, verily God has placed my delight in women and perfume. You know, what that? The Imam said, symbolism, women and perfume. Women, intimacy symbolizes touch, sensual touch. Perfume symbolizes smell. And those two, touch and smell, are the twin fundamentals for the purification of the human soul. That Imam Abu Hamid al-Ghazali rahimahullah ta'ala says is a horse. And horses are broken through touch and smell, them two. That's how you're going to break a horse, through those two things. Hakada. Now, likewise with the nafs, the horse, the Trojan one that resides inside of each and every single one of us. Like the words of the Rasul, laysa bihayyin. People think, oh, the Rasul loves women, or the Rasul loves perfume. And you've gone dunyawi on that, yani. You got like your mind sort of has floated somewhere into the clouds of the dunya. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam in the garden of the akhirah with that. And the Imam say that's the trade-off, because now purification is a negotiation. With whom? Your nafs. Because your nafs like what? You want to pray? Nafs like you want to pray what? You want to have presence and prayer with whom? Yani? Like if it's with me, I've got that, but we do. Hakat al-nafs. There is no creature that is worshipped more than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than the human nafs. That kind of inside the tradition. That one there. Subhanallah, Allah ta'ala, in order for the nafs just now to bow to the presence of the divine, Allah ta'ala had to submerge it fi bahr al-ju', inside the river of hunger. Like it said, the river of hunger. That nafs, a wicked creature right there. And all of us, our egos. So now you got to go into negotiation. What is it? What negotiation do you want? Intimacy. So if I give you intimacy, mean you're going to quote unquote remove the veil, allow me to pray, and allow me to be in commune with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I'll tell you, well, no, the smell as well. Naf says, okay, so if I give you those two, you're going to work well with me? Yeah. Hakada, the negotiation. Hakada, the Imams of spirituality, radiallahu anhum, waradahum, the wearers of suf, are going to tell us, the wearers of wool. He says, he say, verily God has placed my delight in women and perfume, and he placed the coolness of my eye in prayer. You get the point? حُبِّبَ إِلَيْهَا من دنياكم, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, النساء والطيب وجعلت قرة عيني في الصلاة. Hakada, the way that the Rasul used to perfume himself with al-ghaliya. The perfume was al-ghaliya. I could even say the nasat. The ghaliya, an admixture of 4 perfumes. The ghaliya, that's the ordinary ghaliya of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Musk has to be there, ambar has to be there, oud has to be there, camphor. Them 4. They're the 4. And then the proportions, sir nabawi. Okay, Secret of the Prophet, what's the proportionality now of those 4? But that's what we mean by the ghalia. Remember, ghalia, expensive. Ghalia, paradise. Ala inna bid'atullah ghalia. Ala inna bid'atullah hiya jannah. Is not the commodity of God ghalia. The Prophet ﷺ says, is not the commodity of God paradise. And that's why paradise, you smell it, musk, the earth itself, the Rasul said is musk, the earth of Jannah. The Prophet ﷺ said, the Prophet ﷺ in Sahih Bukhari, majamiruhum uluwa, majamiruhum. You know the mahmal that you use in paradise, that itself is oud. Not that you bear oud in it, it itself is oud. And the Imams even debate, well, in paradise, in the majamir, the mahmal that you usually put the fragrance in, so are we going to put coal in it? You know what they say? There's no fire in Jannah. Shuf the cloud. There's no fire in Jannah. Just that thing that you hold in and of itself. هكذا the perfume of the Rasul. And obviously many perfumes, the Ghali there, sometimes it only Mus sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. We'd say that Aisha, when she was asked what was the perfume of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, she said, Dhukurat al-Tib. What's Dhukurat al-Tib? Look at it, masculine sense. Masculine sense. Okay, that's what the Prophet would wear. What's masculine sense? Then it's clarified, Musk Ambar. Them two which are ordinarily considered the kings of what? Of olfactory. Kings of olfactory. Musk and Oud. It's virtually impossible to find a perfume on the face of the world. And I'm talking about even quote unquote those synthetic ones that except that they're trying to recreate, reconstruct the smells of what? Of musk and amber. Virtually all, even Western perfumes. Like they're staples, you know what I mean, quote unquote, as they're called them in olfactory, base notes. They're going to be the base notes of what perfume in and of itself, okay? Likewise, he would burn oud, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Hadith in Sahih Muslim. Oud in Arabic language, uluwa. Uluwa. Hakada in Arabic. Uluwa often. That's why from uluwa in English, you get aloes. So oud, they call it aloes wood. From the Arabic term, uluwa. And the allure of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the oud of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, Ibn Qayyim places it in his tib, Nabawi, because perfume, as we said, it's a healing, it's a medicine. Physical as well as what? Spiritual. Ibn Sina, Avencia, in his Qanun al-Tib, in his canons of medicine, which was the standard work of medicine up until the beginning of the 20th century, East and West. Okay? That's called the Qanun al-Tib, the canons of medicine. Ibn Sina there, he says when he looks at musk, he says it's well known that musk in and of itself, it cures 1,000 different ailments of the physical human heart. He hasn't even got to the spiritual yet, just the physical human heart. That it's a physical cure, never mind quote unquote a spiritual cure. Look at the Rasul said, like with uluwa there, the Rasul said like pleurisy. Pleurisy is cured of the 7 things that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, the things that oud here, uluwa cures. And so the Rasul would burn uluwa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, which is oud. He would burn camphor sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Frankincense, mashallah ta'ala lubban. The Rasul fragrance with frankincense sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Like frankincense, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said they cast out demons from your house. And people say, like, how do I keep the demons at bay? People scared of their qareen and all this business. Burn some frankincense. The Rasul says, demons who have their mouths open and their hands outstretched, that kind of coming for you. You burn frankincense, and Allah Ta'ala, 70 demons, the Prophet said inside the tradition. So it's important, he, inshallah Ta'ala, used to use the calarium, ithmid. The Imam, the subhanallah, like, it's like every sentence is an entire chapter. But the Imam, rahimahullah ta'ala, obviously the book is an abridgment, so he just bringing sort of statements together, inshallah ta'ala, but know that each and every single one of them are a chapter in and of themselves. The Prophet used the calarium ithmid. He said, اكتحلوا بالإثمد. And yujlil basar وينبت الشعر. Hakadha he says, use ithmid, which is a type of kuhl, Persian, they say, from the mines of Persia. And the Rasul says, why do you use it? Yujlil basar. Usually basar, meaning now it makes the eye jali. I strengthened your eyesight. وَيَنْبَتَ الشَّعْرِ يَنْبَتَ الشَّعْرِ here, your eyelashes, it thickens them. The Prophet ﷺ said, I remember your eyelashes are filters, protectors for the eye in and of itself. It's what, all of this, what they call the dharrat in Arabic, all these specks that are in the air, which often, so when you see sort of a ray of light, you can actually see all the specks that are floating in the air. The eyelashes filter them. And so here the issue of what? Of calarium, which is the best of them being ithmid, that it's medicinal. Of the fuqaha, rahimahullah ta'ala, they mention it's not for zina. Like, you get the point, it's not like eyeliner, and you're wearing it, to look a bit, you know what I mean? It's not that, yahdi. Like, it's medicinal. Of the ulama said makruh to wear it during the day. That the Rasul used to apply it by night, not by day. Although his eyes were naturally calariumed. He didn't need it, so why didn't he apply it, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Because our eyes ain't. But then you use it medicinally by night, so by the day it's not going to disappear. Your eyes, mashallah, appear normal by the day. The Imam say, rahimahullah ta'ala. And the Prophet would apply 3 times, apply in the right eye 3 times, whereas only twice to the left. What he wants is 5. Although the other Imam say it's not like that, because the tradition says ثلاثة في هذه وثلاثة في هذه. Hakada the actual tradition said 3 in this eye and 3 in that eye. Okay, 3. say that, why do you want 5? Witr. Sunnah is witr. And so the Imam said the application of it, the mukhala, 1, right eye, 2, left eye, 3, left eye, right eye, 4, left eye. I'm going 5 now, aren't I? This is the 5th one I'm taking from it. That. So you're taking it 5 times from the utensil, but it's applied 3 times to each eye. That's where the sunnah is upon. And the hadith, literal, ثلاثة في هذه وثلاثة في هذه. 3 times in this eye and 3 times in that eye, but 5 times he's taken it from the utensil. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Inna Allah ta'ala watr yuhibbul watr. Allah ta'ala watr, odd, and he loves things done an odd number of times. 3, 3, 5. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Okay? He would sometimes apply collyrium whilst fasting. He doesn't break your fast. What do you mean by that? Al-ayn غير منفذ المفتوح. The eye is not an opening to the cavity. So something going in your eye is not going to break your fast. That's why you could, fuqaha, you're going to derive from that. He says would apply a great amount of oil to both his head and beard. كَانَ ثَوْبَهُ ثَوْبَ الزَّيَّاتِ. So much saturate himself in oil as part of the grooming process, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, to the point that it's as if the garment was like an oil seller. What garment? The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam on his head used to wear the durag. So he'd have what we call a durag, bandana on his head before he'd put his headgear upon. And that durag would be a protective head covering, so that the oil of his hair would not soil his what? His turban, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, or the like. However, he would only oil himself when required. And so he notices when is the body or the hair now requiring oil. Okay, so it's called a ghibban. Kana yadahinu ghibban. Ghibban, some say odd days, some say when it was actually required. He ﷺ would apply collyrium likewise an odd number of times, which we said. The Messenger of God ﷺ would love to begin with the right hand side. This hadith of Aisha and Bukhari. Whenever he ﷺ groomed himself, ﷺ, starts with the right side, his hair, his beard. Now whenever he put on his sandals, right sandal first, ﷺ. Whenever he purified himself, right hand side first, right hand first, etc. Right side of the face. In fact, in all affairs, he loves to begin with the right, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. And he would use a mirror, a mir'at, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam looks in the mirror. And when he looks into the mirror, as we look at the dua, Allahumma kama ahsanta khalqi fa ahsin khuluqi. Oh Allah, just as you've made my form beautiful, make my character beautiful. Okay? Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. When traveling, he would always carry a container of oil with him. So these are the items the Rasul would always have when traveling. Okay? He would always have a container of oil with him. Okay? That's one. And this is between the tradition of Sayyidatuna Aisha and Sayyidina Anas. So it's between the tradition of Anas and Aisha that we know what are the items the Rasul always would have with him. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And some are going to go as far as, in the modern age, you call it like, sure if you want, it's like man bag, that the Rasul would have some type of man bag, so where he puts all of these utensils in. Others want to have that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you imagine even the shirts of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you see them I don't want to use the word, but have you seen the garments that have the really big pockets? Those. So the big pockets that the Rasul sallallahu will have inside of his shirt, because his shirts have a jayb. They have pockets. We know his shirts do have pockets. That's clear in the tradition, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And so he would place these always upon his person, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and they concern what's called khisal al-fitra, the maintenance of primordial or aboriginal purity, okay, of the form. And so the Rasul always has a container of oil with him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. 1, the Rasul always has perfume with him. 2, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And that perfume of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it would take the Rasul 1 year, ordinarily 1 year, for that perfume to mature. And the Prophet curates his own perfume, and it takes 1 year for it to fully mature before he begins to apply it to himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But thereafter, he always has it with him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That's 2. He always has the collyrium stick, the mukhala. So the collyrium, okay, the kuhl, always with him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Rasul always has a mirror, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, a mir'at. The Rasul always has a comb, and he always has a midrat. So he has 2 combs. One's not mentioned, one's a comb, You call that a mushta, and the second is a midra. And that's a second comb. It's more like a pick comb for somebody who has curly hair. And that midra there, likewise, it now is in the mirror. So it can act, look at it, sure. It can act as the handle of the mirror, and then the Rasul can disconnect it and then use it to loosen his curls, his hair, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. The Rasul always has scissors. It's the maqas. That's to cut his nails, sallallahu alayhi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Always has it. The Rasul always has a siwak with him, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Always. And often the siwak kept behind his ear. He keeps the miswak behind his ear, sallallahu alayhi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Likewise, here it mentioned a needle and thread. The Rasul will have with him, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Also, he also has the mathara. The mathara, he also has like a utensil in which there's water. Wherever he goes, sallallahu alayhi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Nowadays, maybe it's a water bottle. Like it ain't a water bottle. But I'm just saying the use of with your water bottle. So maybe it's a water bottle, so you can claim sunnah there. Are often, but he always has water wherever he goes with him, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. These are of the things that Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam would always have with him on his person. He would brush his teeth 3 times by night, both before and after sleep, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, first thing in the morning. Yes, this stark fama, shush fama, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, that he would cleanse his mouth with his what? With his toothstick, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and the siwak, as when he sallallahu arose for regular devotion and left for Fajr prayer. Okay, the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has oft use of the actual siwak, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and he used to perform cupping hijama, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, which from the highest medicines of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Rasul commanded to take the hijama and to command his ummah with hijama, little Isra al-Mi'raj. The Isra al-Mi'raj, that's when the commandment for hijama came down to the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Okay, any questions, inshallah ta'ala? I think we're good there, I think. This is suddenly deciding to freeze. Aywa. Tayyib, inshallah ta'ala. Do we have any questions, inshallah ta'ala? Any questions? Again, once again, anyone present who have any questions before we look at the ones online, inshallah ta'ala? Do you have any questions? Bismillah. Yeah, no. The issues of the shades of the clothing of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the names are not there for us. Okay? The names are not there for the clothing. And the only item that it seems clear is the turban of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the Rasul has a turban. It's called sahab, the clouds. It's called the sahab, the clouds. His turban. That name there clear. Other than that, there's not a clarity on what he called each item of clothing. And that's why you can also find some ulama are of the opinion that when the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam kana yusammihi bi ismi, he used to call it by its name. Some ulama say the name is the generic name for the actual item. The turban's a turban, the shirt's a shirt, the lungi's a lungi. You get the point? Some say it's not a specific name. It's generic. Whereas other ulama say no, it wasn't a specific name. I mean, it wasn't a generic name, but it's more so every item had a specific name. So there are 2 opinions in that regard. And again, the fact that we know the turban's name, which is sahab, again, yurajih. And it clearly ponderates the fact that everything had a specific name, although we don't necessarily have those names preserved to us. But we're going to have that with his armor. We're going to have that with his spears. We're going to have that with his swords and his shields, and specific names will be there for us. Okay? Naam, any questions?
You mentioned that Allah manifested through the back.
Allah mentioned which, sorry?
Allah manifested through the back of the Prophet. How has that been interpreted?
Those are the mutashabihat. The mutashabihat, those are the ones, the type of traditions we just step back from. Like we just step back from. Like ma ma'na, and what's the meaning of that? And rather what you look at is the ghaya. What we do know is that tajalli of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which has been asked, the tajalli of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we know what comes next. It's the statement of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, فَعَرَفْتُ كُلَّ شَيْءٍ. So I came into knowledge of everything. So we know the effect of it. But what was it? What was the manifestation? Allah ta'ala alam. Allah knows best. Any question? Aywa?
Is there any fragrance out there that does not or anything
Remember that the parallels is with musk. Atyab min tib. So the parallel is with musk. Is any fragrance that does smell like the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his fragrance, his own fragrance sallallahu alaihi wasallam, is described as more fragrant than musk. So the Imams rahimahullah ta'ala want to use musk as the first parallel. Then the Imams also want to add to musk ambar. Either add mixture of musk and ambar. That's what Aisha called dhukurat at-tib. That was the perfume of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they're now the greatest parallel we've got to the smell of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And there are traditions, that do mention, the traditions have da'af, they have a weakness in, they do mention rose. So rose being the sweat of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Now you have white rose, you have red rose, and you have yellow rose. And so the traditions that those rose, one was created from the sweat of Jibreel, two was created from the sweat of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, three was created from the sweat of what? Of the Barakah. That there is a tradition, but he said the Signet has da'af in it. But that, no doubt whatsoever, the place is sort of rose, like up there, up there. Like that there, from the Ummah, rose, word, word. It's no doubt one of the most key sort of fragrances inside of the Ummah in and of itself. And look, by the way, I'm not saying by the way, the Faqih was reading a book, and the book was speaking, this a book about critical medical studies in I think it was 1973 or 1976, the medical studies we did. And they did, it's in all factories, so they were looking at the effect of rose, quote unquote, in dealing with specific ailments. I could show, maybe I'll bring the book so you can see it. You can see with your own eyes, because I forget to look at that. Then it said in the book, and I'm trying to remember the number, but it said that rose, with X amount of clinical studies on the effects of rose, it's proved to be, it's the word 76. It's proved to be effective. I think the word was 9 different strains of the coronavirus. Yeah, I can show you the book itself. The book published way before the coronavirus. Book published in the 70s, like rose. Sure. That's why man gotta just get their little diffuser here and there. They gotta get their little rosotto, and they gotta let it remain, Johnny. Sure. And the point being, what you sort of want from that is where are we looking for cures, Johnny? You're guaranteed the cures are all within the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And the Faqir, Lord have mercy. They say Sharrul Bariya Yudhak. They say the worst calamities are funny, innit? And so now we've all got to wear these masks, innit? What I would say is let us all just smell, innit? If it's going to come in here, I'm sure the cure also could come in there and quote unquote help us cure us from this virus that quote unquote these people got us all running scared of. Subhanallah, yeah. Would that we were running scared of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, huh? Go on, is that okay? Yeah, I want. So rose and yeah, no. There's one other that's escaping me right now. Go on.
When Muslims live in foreign lands, is it better for them to wear clothes from what's normative amongst those people, or is it better for them to wear, for example, clothes that might be in lands? What's the difference than the Syrian ulama on that and the Yemenis?
Yeah, Allahu alam. But the question about clothes in the lands of the non-Muslims, what's the best clothes to wear? Is it better to wear the clothes of the land or the clothes quote unquote that are of the lands of the Muslims or what have you? I know, and what we do know, is that question was leveled at Sayyidina Habib Umar, and so Habib Umar, he said, whilst it's good quote unquote wearing in a way that conforms to the breadth of the Sharia, that is suitable to the land in which you live. He's about what's the best thing to wear? Sunnah, in the most literal way. Habib Umar was very clear upon that, very clear, that literally the best clothes to wear no matter what land you're in is the most literal interpretation of the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. After that, everything is in descending degrees, albeit it's still good. So if your question is about what's best, then the answer is very, very clear. If your question more so is about what's good, then mashallah ta'ala, good comes in different shapes, in different sizes, and different, could you say, Allahu alam, the Syrian ulama, Allahu alam in their sort of exact in terms of what is best. And the Faqir, we sat through the entire Bab al-Libas, the chapter of clothes, in the Riyadh al-Salihin with Shaykh Dr. Sa'id al-Bouti. So the entire chapter when he taught it, and so he dealt with the issue of clothes. And Dr. Sa'id, but Dr. Sa'id wasn't speaking about what was best And, you know what I mean? And what was, he wasn't making that dichotomy. He was more so embracing, like, what a Muslim can wear, yani. And so Dr. Said was embracing, again, the breadth of it. He was embracing the diversity of it. And then he was also embracing the fact that, and I'm paraphrasing now his words, that the Prophet ﷺ is pleased with what pleases the Muslims. Yani. What pleases the Muslims. So what pleases the Muslim in terms of their dress, which can be culture, but mashallah, tabarakallah, sharia. So al-ada muhakkima, yani culture as the weight of law. So long as culture doesn't contradict the law, yani, then culture beautiful. So Dr. Said is also embracing that. And Dr. Said used to wear like the Halabi suit. Dr. Said, his literal words. And Dr. Said was like, you see the Halabi suit? Like, I'm confident that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, if a Halabi suit was presented to him, he would have worn it. That was the literal words of Dr. Said there, in terms of the Halabi suit. Halabi suit, suit with the long, Dr. Said Ramadan Labuti, rahmatullah ta'ala, the great shaheed, and he made mention of. Yani. So, Allah ta'ala alam. Yani. Although I think that there's a bit of wisdom in what you're saying, I don't think that's really why people, you know what I mean? I don't think that's why people dress why they dress, yani. Like we can say, like the question is that although people, we all understand the primacy of the Sunnah and the best clothes is the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Sorry, I don't believe that's the case, yani. I don't think people understand the primacy of the Sunnah, and I don't believe people understand that there's nothing greater than the clothes of the Sunnah. I really don't believe that. And I really believe people dress the way they dress because they want to imitate those who dress like them. That they act as an esteem and exaltation for who they dress like. That's the faqih's belief, yani. And I'm not saying it's across board, but I would say that's the overwhelming rule, yani. You get the point? لا يغرنك تقلب الذين كفروا في البلاد. Do not be deluded by the way the kuffar move around planet Earth. What Allah Ta'ala telling us, we are deluded by it, especially in this age. Like we're in awe of them and what they wear and what they drive, and we're in awe of them, yani. And so, like, someone going to say that the Muslims truly believe the supreme clothing is libas taqwa, libas al-ma'ad, libas al-Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I'd find that hard to believe, yani. Like hard to believe, really hard to believe. Okay, Akad al-Faqir would say. And then, yani, to say, and I understand the point, but to say that there could be times when not wearing the best days, what are those times? Because of inherent danger. What is inherent danger? Sahaba dressed what they dressed like in the four corners of the earth, and there was no more inherent danger than what they faced. Because they were dressing like that, quote unquote, in military combat. They were dressing like that when they walked amongst sort of enemy lines. They dressed like that. Sahaba ma ghayyaru qat. They never changed their clothes. Qat, period. Yani. The tradition the faqir knows of, yani, one tradition the faqir knows of, which is a consideration. It opens up a door, and that's, as we mentioned today, when Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab enters into Jerusalem. And so when he enters into Jerusalem, Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab, and he meets Abu Ubaidah. Abu Ubaidah ibn Jarrah, he has his clothes on, over his clothes he has his armor, and over his armor he has like a silk garment, like a silk outer coat. So Umar's first instinct, when he sees Abu Ubaidah, Umar ibn Khattab starts picking up bricks and just starts throwing bricks at him. First instinct, that throws bricks at Abu Ubaidah. Shuf, what are you wearing that for? You wear a silk garment, but it's over his armor, yani. So Abu Ubaidah, dodging those bricks come from Umar ibn Khattab. He says, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, you see the people of the city, because he's opened the city, the new liberator, he's saying, they're not going to afford me the proper respect unless this is like their official garb that they wear, that they see a leader should wear. And so Abu Ubaidah here, the Amin there, Nazil, that it comes down to their level so that it's wisdom, da'wah. But what you're looking at, he hasn't changed his clothes. He still has his natural clothes upon. He's still got his battle armor upon. So this is just like a sort of an official cloak he's wearing. Silk problem, their clothes problem, but he has it on. It opens up a door. But yani Allah Ta'ala alam. Allah, all of this, all of this, I look at the Fiqh's opinion, you sort of spend time in the da'wah, you realize all this compromise this and dress like them, that, and speak to them in that language there, it ain't got us far, yani. Like all that ain't got us far. It's not like all that we've succeeded. Sure, if I've told you this is the way, it ain't got us far. And what we've got to realize, we compromised the usul, yani. And that's what Habib Umar was saying. And I'm telling you, when Habib Umar was saying this, the faqir, Allahu A'lam, the mind of the faqir was maybe closer to what you're saying, Hamza. You ready? That, in land, you get the point, khatibun nas, yani, speak to people in a language they understand. And so language can also be culturally. So the faqir had that understanding. Habib Umar, we ain't having that. Habib Umar was like, no, yani, every society needs to see the exemplars. It needs to see them. Whatever other people do, but the exemplars have to walk through society espousing the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. And it's through them, Allah Ta'ala yumtir al-barakah. Barakah now comes down through them, spreads to where it spreads. So that there, we should be clear upon it. Note, it's not saying that people who dress in a way that's more palatable in their culture and is wrong with that. No, it's not wrong. It's good in that. But I'm just answering your question, the best. So the best now, no. Nope. Junaid, nope. You got to have that. And that day, no doubt, the faqih fihi wasa'. I'm just speaking about the mashrab of Hadramaut, yani. No doubt other cultures, and I'm talking imams of religion, will see it a different way. I do recognize that, yani. And you can see it in a completely different way, yani, or in a way that's somewhat different, yani. Tayyib, we take a few views online. What material would the sandals of the Prophet ﷺ made out of? Leather, cow's leather, to be particular. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Off subject slightly. Nope, we're not going off subject. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh. Yani, how do we have modesty with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? That there Allah ta'ala alim, that they're a different topic. And the basis of modesty in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, modesty yamna' صاحبها عن ارتكاب الفواحش أو مما لا يليق به. That the nature of modesty, it's a preventative from you, quote unquote, acting in a way that is considered to be unworthy, improper, or downright lewd. I can't really say it about modesty. That's my definition of the Imams rahimahullah ta'ala. And whoever you're modest with, then the definition of what is improper relates to whoever you're having modesty with. You read it? So now it's with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the standard is set very, very high. And modesty always brings about a feeling of the inability to please or make who you're being modest with contentment. But it always forces you to try better and harder to attain that which is higher. Okay? Okay, it's a bigger chapter, the issue of modesty, al-haya, and it's a chapter of Shama'il. And the books of Shama'il, Imam Tirmidhi has a chapter, al-haya'u, the modesty of the Prophet ﷺ. Yani ma'ad clothes, ma'ad is the forefather of the Prophet ﷺ, and it's called ma'ad, the clothes of ma'ad libasa. Ma'ad is the Prophet's forefather, the son of Adnan. There, ma'ad, the one who took to the Barak. Gabriel took him on the Barak in the age of Nebuchadnezzar. That's ma'ad. And what it means is wearing rida, okay, wearing lungis. That's what it means. That's the clothes of ma'ad. If you want to understand it in a more simpler way, the clothes that the Rasul ﷺ wore are the clothes of ma'ad. Okay? We have learned that the Prophet ﷺ clothing signify high reality. Could you please explain this in the context of the turban? The high reality of the turban is the turban angelic. The angels wear turbans. That's the first thing. It's like the Rasul's turban, sahab. It's called sahab. Sahab means cloud. And that turban the Rasul ﷺ also gave to Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib to wear. And Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, once he's coming to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ says, here comes Ali fi sahab. Here comes Ali in the clouds. And so the clouds, if you understand clouds, what's clouds? Angels. Okay? When you speak about clouds, now you speak about angels. And so turbans are angelic in nature. It's from the angelic realm. The Rasul wears it. Again, that's in quote unquote in dedication to the world of angels. But also there's a part of it, our sister's asking about the tail there, which now that's more so an issue of divine remembrance. Why he has the tail, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam. Okay? Sometimes at work, wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, the fragrance of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is natural fragrance. What did it emit? Okay, as we said, it's his fragrance, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The only comparison you have to it is tib. That is the standard comparison that you have to the sweat of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But atyab minhu, it's higher than it. And then you understand that it's higher than it, that to this day there's no perfume that is higher than and more costly than musk. It's the most expensive perfume on the face of the earth, yani. Musk, yani. And so when you understand atyab minhu, then shuf, you got a sense of what the Prophet ﷺ is saying there. Sometimes I wake even during the winter months, I will walk past trees and greenery and I have experienced a beautiful fragrance which is flowery, perhaps jasmine, but not strong jasmine. Immediately I feel this is the scent of the Messenger of Allah ﷺ. I know not really. This has occurred on numerous occasions whilst waking night. No, not really. The only door we have there for us, and I said there, you have a door is in one of the perfumes that Rasul counseled was Rayhan. So Rayhan, so the counsel, the perfume of Rayhan. And the Imams, the most broadest interpretation of Rayhan is any sweet smelling herb, so which can also include flowers. So I'm trying to sort of should open up a door for you, so that if we're going to try and tie the smell that you're speaking about here, you'd also tie it to Rayhan. And Rayhan from Jannah. Okay, so it can be as you described, but we're not now looking at the smell of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. What you're more so looking at is one of the smells of paradise that manifests in this world as a Rayhan. Rayhan. And of that Rayhan, like you put in the diffuser there, in Rayhan, coming to it, oregano. Oregano. Some are going to specifically mention that within the context of Rayhan. Oregano, the herb, yani. Okay. How would you describe the shirt of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? Is it similar to the khamis worn in the subcontinent, or more like a thobe? Then that's just open to discussion. What you saw is our cultures now have, if you look at Allah Ta'ala Alam, but like all Muslim cultures have a shirt. And the strong Muslim cultures, they're all interpreting that shirt in ways that they believe it's the sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the shirt of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is clearly a sleeve shirt. Okay, so it's clearly sleeves. The sleeves of the shirt of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in a riwayah, they go to the rusugh. This is the rusugh. Rusugh is your wrist. So the way we see our garments go to the rusugh, that there. But also, there's a tradition that they go to ru'us al-asabi'. So they actually go to the fingertips of the hand of the Prophet ﷺ. So riwayat, so there's two lengths of his shirt. So I'm just giving you a sense, these are the broader things of the shirt. Then the issue now also is the size of the kum. And what we want is wasi' al-kum. That this wasi' intuition, wasi', this wide. And so some of them like wide, that wide. And so like when you get to like West Africa, the West Africans, all the West Africans, up to and including the Mauritanians there, you're going to see that that's what they want to see. They say this is the shirt of the Rasul, wide. And it's so wide that the shirt of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, I got a part of their proofs, that when he makes dua, you can see the fairness of his armpits. So now the shirt of the Rasul should expose the armpits if they lift it up. Because that now the sleeve of it should be that wide. Traditions, but these are all interpretations. What we've got to understand, that it's not necessarily just one type of shirt that he had, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And then a second thing I think we should also understand, that the universality of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You ready? So each culture could have embraced a type of shirt that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam wore that more so suitable to them. Like for example, the outer garment of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, dayyiq al-qam, dayyiq, so it's thin there, constricted, it's not wide like his normal shirt. The outer garment he wore, Jubba. Where was that from? Rumia. From Rome, Italia, Italy. He wore a garment from Rome, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. But we notice the sleeves are very different. But at the same time, it validates now Roman garments. It validates that type of sleeve now, that thereby can be adopted in another type of garment. Have you got the point we're saying? So if you look at the clothes of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, you look at the varying traditions, yani, there is siyah in the sunnah of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he's not concerned about clothes. So now whatever's available, he wears. That's the basic principle. Whatever's available, he wears. And in the age of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the most available of garments were from the Yemen. Overwhelmingly his garments were Yemeni garments. From the Yemen, came directly from the Yemen. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Overwhelmingly. Some of the Imams, we even want to go to the point of exclusively that they were from the Yemen. The garments of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, although traditions will clearly show you that some of them wearing garments came from the Levant, garments came from Rome for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, although they were few and far between, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Okay? Different type. Same with the length. Was it so short that it came towards the knees of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? So it's a short shirt, or did the shirt of the Rasul now drop beneath the actual knees of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to the mid part of his shins, or what? Hadith of Mustadrak of Hakim can allude to the shirt of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam being what we now call a short shirt. So maybe to the mid part of the thighs. Hadith of Mustadrak of Hakim that alludes to that. And so again, there are a lot of traditions that relate to the clothes of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The best way to truly understand it is the Rasul, he's not, as the Imam said, he's not particularly concerned with clothes. Yani. So whatever's available, he wears. Look, the woman goes and makes the share for the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The Rasul ain't questioning the woman. The Rasul ain't asking show me the share first or whatever. The Prophet takes it, goes in immediately and wears the share sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That's their thematic for you. And so it gives a type of variety. And I think a lot of the cultures of the Muslims are very interpretative of that. Yeah. Very, very interpretative of it. The dua, Allahumma ahyini miskina. Yeah. Some advice as to my nafs, can't or scared to say the dua apart from the last part. Allah Ta'ala. Barakah, seek barakah from the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Are you scared to say it, yani? Subhanallah, you don't want to be poor? Oh Allah, yani, allow me to live poor, allow me to die as poor, but resurrect me in the company of the poor. So we're all right being resurrected in the company of the poor, in that next world, but we don't want to live poor in this world. Sharif, we all love Sharif, mashallah ta'ala. What is the meaning of the evil and the evils of which it is made for in relation to clothing? Okay, the evil, because clothes can be evil. They can be evil to clothes, and then the intention of the one who manufactured it, the intention of the one who manufactured the textile, or the one who sewed the garment, or the one who sold the garment, etc. All those intentions matter, yani. Clothes are like food. We have to trace it back to the origin. And the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam, in that the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam has a needle and thread, one. And then in that ordinarily what comes from the Yemen is just textile. Not the garment, just a textile. That you see the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam is involved in the process of clothes making. He's involved in that process. And that's one of the reasons he commands his women folk, all his women folk to learn it, yani. Prophet institutionalized it inside of his house. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You get the point? Like the sewing, etc. Habadashri, khiyata. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we mentioned, the supreme woman, her name is Hafsa ibn Rawaha. She's the supreme one in Medina to Munawwara. Go to the greatest sort of clothes maker in Medina to Munawwara. I've seen some pictures of some of the Habaib, Habib Abdullah bin Shihab, where their turban also covers both their ears. And some wear only one ear is covered. Can you please shed some light upon the tradition of this? Now the Prophet ﷺ wear his turban in this regard. As we say, and Habib Abdullah warda, that with sanad, Habib Abdullah bin Shihab, the sanad. It's a big turban. Ordinarily, that turban is what's called, it's 12 adhru'. 12 adhru', like roughly, it's a bit less than 6 meters in length. 6 meters in length, the length of the actual turban in and of itself. It's a big turban. That is considered to be the biggest turban of the Rasul. Of the opinions, the turban of the Rasul is sab'a adhru'. Sab'a adhru', like roughly 3.5 meters, less than 3.5 meters. Tallest one, 12 adhru', roughly 6 meters, the turban of the Prophet ﷺ in terms of length. That it could cover his ears, that is understood. That the ears of the Rasul ﷺ ordinarily covered. We have a zero tradition that tells us about the ears of the Prophet ﷺ. And so thereby the ulama understood that he covered his ears. And his turban covered his ears. And when it's sort of described, quote unquote, in terms of transmission, that when it comes from the hanak, I say when it comes from the hanak, there, it comes up over the ears, there, the turban of the Prophet ﷺ. So you have that sort of triangular thing there. And then obviously this can be done now, that's the turban of the Prophet ﷺ. Okay, so the ears being covered is optimal. But remember, it's not the only way to wear it. It's not the only way to wear it. Again, the question there was, like we mentioned about Dr. Saeed Rahman al-Bhuti. Dr. Saeed Rahman al-Bhuti, he says, al-imama, the word for the turban, al-imama. And al-imama from the word am in the Arabic language. And he said, al-imama ma ta'umma al-ra'as. So an imama is anything, am means to surround. So anything that surrounds or covers the head is an imama, is a turban. So Dr. Saeed literally saying, like with yours on my head, that's a turban. Or people are wearing a turban. But our sisters wearing hijab, that's a turban. Haven't got it? Anything that covers the head is a turban. I could literally, Dr. Saeed Rahman al-Bhuti, rahimahullah ta'ala. No doubt the ibra is linguistically, but when we look at it prophetically, then the turban of the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam remains with us to this day through the variant transmissions of the turban of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Okay? An indication of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam would burn oud or frankincense. Allah ta'ala alam, like the issue of the how, the kayfiyah, that he would burn them, that's clear. What oil was used by the Prophet ﷺ? Olive oil. And is there any advice you can give on how we can collate our own perfume in accordance to the Sunnah? Spend. Ahmed. Spend. MashaAllah, that's how Ahmed Shahid there. Money, spend, Ahmed. That's how you sort of you collate the perfume. Look at our dear brother, from Ansar Ud today, MashaAllah ta'ala, isn't it? I mean, subhanallah. Don't you just love people like that, yani? You love them, yani. Inna Allah yuhibbu li'abdin ya'amila shay'an yutqina. Allah Ta'ala loves it that when people then do something, they perfect it. That's perfectionist. And them type of people there, Ansar and Thomas and them type of people, mashallah ta'ala, the faqirs, the opinion, the Rasul loves them, yani. The faqirs' opinion that Allah Ta'ala loves them. They're perfectionists in what they do. Like they make the Rasul sallallahu proud, yani. In the ummah of the Rasul sallallahu to still see people who have a deep and a profound concern perfecting the art of something that is beloved to the Prophet sallallahu MashaAllah ta'ala. MashaAllah ta'ala. And so the faqir were there saying in that regard, listen, 3 words. Spend. Junaid, go on. Spend. There you go. Yeah. That's what the faqir would say in that regard. Okay? Ahmed, MashaAllah ta'ala. You're a pharmacist, Ahmed. Pharmacist got a bit of dosh. Spend. Tayyib. The container the Prophet ﷺ had for water, what was the material? They used the word a qarura. And a qarura ordinarily they mean from glass. Okay? So it definitely is fragile. Or the Rasul ﷺ is containers that you would drink from and store water in. You have those that are made from khazif. Khazif is like clay. The Rasul ﷺ would use clay. The Rasul ﷺ also has stone. The Rasul ﷺ also has wood. And then you understand from the qarura, the traveling one, that it can be glass. And the Rasul ﷺ also uses leather. Okay, leather, water skin. ﷺ. Okay? And can you recommend where you can get genuine ithmid, calarium? Allahu alam, I can't recommend. If you find out, please let the faqir know as well with ithmid there. And as I say, a lot of it's not sort of proper and that it can be toxic. It has lead in it. So rather than being good for the eye, it can be bad for the eye. So you've got to try to seek, inshallah, be careful with seeking it and try to ensure that it's authentic, authentic, organic. Like I've seen Yemenis, Somalis, Southeast Asians, Malays, and Indonesians with a lower garment called a sarong. Yep, that's sarong is an izar, which usually has a checkered pattern. Is this a type of garment from the Sunnah? The garments from the Sunnah, but it's not like the Rasul wore the checkered ones. Like we had the Hadramaut, that's what they were the same. It's not that. If you want to look at the closest to the Prophet ﷺ is what you see the tribesmen of North Yemen wear. So the tribesmen of northern Yemen, that type of sarong, izar, that's closer to the Sunnah. I.e. the Sunnah of the Rasul ﷺ, it's an open garment. It's an open. So what you're looking at is a garment that's closed. And we don't have traditions that the garment was checkered. So the garment could be a single color, the garment can be striped. The Prophet ﷺ. And so Allahu A'lam, but the closest you will see it are like what the tribes, the Qaba'il, are going to wear in northern Yemen. That's the closest to quote unquote the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. With regards to what you're using is the word the sarong, Noah. Is it forbidden for men and women to wear red clothing? That's what the Imam say, rahimahullah ta'ala. Pure red, khalis, without another color in there. How often did the Prophet ﷺ have hijama? Allah Ta'ala alam. How often the Prophet ﷺ had hijama, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That he had hijama, that much clear, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. That he paid for hijama, that much clear. That it was like slave or freed slave who the one who did hijama upon the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, likewise that much clear. Likewise also the days that the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam commanded it for it to be done, i.e. in the third phase of the moon. Okay, the third phase of the moon is when it's the optimal time to do hijama, that much clear, etc. In the bab of hijama, inshallah ta'ala. Okay, that there are two types, what's called hijama and fasid, intravenous and extravenous. Also clarity there inside of the sunnah. It has its chapter and it has its scholars, best to refer to them, inshallah ta'ala. Does the upper garment have any specific signification in the dream world? Allah ta'ala alam there. If someone sees another person in a dream state with a green turban upon his head, what does it mean? Allah ta'ala alam, just a green turban by itself. I have heard that different colors indicate different states, like black was victory as was worn on the conquest of Mecca. Allah alam, but Allah, whether that translates in the dream state. That the Rasul wore black turban, that's very clear. That he only wore a black turban, that's what some of the Imams want, that the Rasul never wore a turban other than black. That all the turbans of the Prophet ﷺ were black. Okay? Very difficult to prove that he wore other than a black turban. Sorry, because you're not going to have a tradition in that regard. That is considered to be sahih. Okay? And that he wore a black turban on the conquest of Mecca, that's very clear. The Imamah conquest of Mecca, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the khutbah of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, the Prophet is in black turban. And that becomes the shi'ar of Banu al-Abbas. The Abbasids who are going to claim now Dawlatul Mubarakah, the family of the Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, etc. Black turbans become their shi'ar. It becomes like the emblem of them, of the family of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in the formative period. Can we get rewarded for following the clothing of the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam? Of course, Abdul Malik. I've heard some do not class it sunnah but a customary action. Well, Allah Ta'ala for them, and the sunnah is to match the custom of the time. Please could you clarify, Abdul Malik? I think we clarified with Hamza's question. But Allah Ta'ala alam. The Faqih would tell you simply, the Abdul Malik, child, pay them no mind. Pay them no mind whatsoever. Someone who says that. Someone who says that's really, subhanallah, Allah Ta'ala yarham ummata Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. If one is gifted comfort in a dream state, what will that mean? Gifted comfort in the dream state, I'd rather not say. I wanted to ask about the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam wearing the color red. I thought men were not allowed to wear red based on his sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's blessed instruction. Yeah, that's true. We said pure red, but something that has red in, that's sunnah. Okay, but pure red. Now I was tempted to say like the Liverpool Football Club and Man United, but Shaykh may not like that. But he liked the Man United part in it, but he won't like the Liverpool part. But I'm sure you get the point, Sumaya. Yeah, subhanallah. You know what I mean? Sorry, Aziz. That's Aziz is asking now. Yeah, better stay away from red if it's khalis. According to the instruction. Was the blessed scent of the Prophet from birth of the manifest of the Prophet? Its blessed scent is Isra Mi'raj. To clearly manifest after his ascent to the heavens. Is it true our beloved used to wear clothes from Rome and China? I said, the Chinese ain't getting on at this point in time in life. As for Rome, that's very clear. Like I don't know, like China, I don't know where the China thing came from. Maybe, I'm not negating that, but I haven't heard the China thing. So Sharif, if you can educate us on China, where China came from, I don't know. Okay, type. What did the Rasul wear to sleep? Clothes. I'm saying clothes. He wore clothes, like normal clothes. Normal clothes. It's not that he has like a special type of sort of like pajamas. It's not something like that. It's normal clothes. Okay, so like izar. And we mentioned the hadith Sayyidina Umar ibn Khattab when he enters into the room of the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ is sleeping on the reed mat, but he's just in his izar. Okay, so the izar there, that's clearly of the sort of garments the Prophet ﷺ wears to sleep. Did the Rasul ﷺ ever wear a black turban? As you said, always wore a black turban according to some, or mostly wore a black turban according to others. Is jabba, jubba, or thobe from the sunnah? Yeah, the jubba. The jubba is literally from the sunnah as well. The thobe just means a garment in the Arabic language. So it's what you mean by a thobe, and as we mentioned before, different cultures can interpret that in different ways. All of them have degrees of validity. How would you recommend dressing whilst living with in-laws, but also wanted to dress to impress your husband? Allahu A'lam. Seems like the women find that one funny here. I don't know. So maybe they understand what's going on there. I don't know what's going on there, Aisha Mahmood, so I don't understand that. But I don't know. I'm sure there's an answer somewhere. Tayyib, Ahmed, in the culture, the Prophet ﷺ was often referred to as the black cloaked one. Can you clarify if the Prophet ﷺ had a black cloak? Yes. And why is it often referred to? And Allah Ta'ala alam, when they're using the kisa of the Rasul, which is black, he has a kisa which is a black cloak, so a kisa. And then the family of the Rasul is called Ahlul Kisa, the people of the kisa, of the cloak of the Rasul. That's there with the Christians of Najran, when Sayyidina Ali ibn Abi Talib, Fatima Zahra, and Hassan Hussein are now wrapped with the Rasul in his cloak, sallallahu alayhi wasallam. And so it most likely Ahmed refers back to that moment. Oh, camera not working. Well, as long as you can still hear me, I'm all right with the camera not working. I recall hearing the angel Jibreel gifted a shirt to Imam Hussein and Imam Hassan and Imam Hussein. One was red and the other was green. Is this something you have heard? No, the Fakir hasn't heard it. Okay? The Fakir hasn't heard it, but just because I haven't heard it doesn't mean it may not be true. And every job is honorable, but is being a hijamist sort of frowned upon or lowly of some sort? No, not necessarily. Why? Because the Rasul ﷺ sanctioned it, and the Rasul himself paid. Okay, who performed the Abu Rafi', I believe Abu Rafi', who performed the hijama upon the Prophet ﷺ. And every job is honorable. But is there a hadith stating that in every household there should be at least one hijamist? Again, Allahu A'lam. Wa alaykum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Baba, did the Rasul ﷺ sleep upon the floor? No, the Rasul ordinarily slept upon a mattress. Ordinarily a low mattress, it could have been raised. Oh, Rayhan, what's going on here, Rayhan? Wa alaykum salam wa barakatuh. Is there a connection to saying Uthman losing the ring of prophecy and changing the prophetic sandal to one strap? No, not necessarily. Just what we say that the changing to one strap of Sayyidina Uthman ibn Affan has different meanings, but amongst them, the age has changed. Okay, the age has changed. Losing the ring, that's the door of fitna. That's clear. Some say to the day. Some say it's in the same year that he lost the ring, the gateway of fitna opened up. Others say the exact day that the ring was lost, the gateway of fitna opened up, of tribulation till the end of time. Okay, yesterday you mentioned that the Rasul ﷺ carried his nail clippers on him at all time. Yep, we said that in today. Is there a sunnah? Is it used, the word today was used as scissors, but the same thing, clippers, yani. And is there a sunnah day to clip nails, Jum'ah? Or did he clip his nails as necessary? So I said, Jum'ah, Friday. Did the Rasul ﷺ ever use Rayhan, basil? Sorry, Rayhan, not oregano, basil. There you go, basil. Yeah, as a perfume. Because it said, like basil, they say Rayhan is basil. How do you pronounce it? Basil or basil? Basil. Okay, so Rayhan is basil, okay, the herb, that's as specific, they say, but it's also carried upon any sweet, aromatic, quote-unquote herb, okay? So basil, jazakumullah khair Rayhan, for that there, for basil, inshallah ta'ala. So you mentioned Rayhan as one of the fragrance of paradise. Did the Rasul ﷺ keep pets or cat? The Rasul ﷺ keep pets or cats? No, he kept animals, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Abu Hurairah had a cat. That's the most famous cat in the Medina. The cat was Abu Hurairah, radiallahu anhu warda. So And the Prophet used to call him Abu Hir, and Abu Hurairah used to keep it in his sleeve. In the sleeve, shows you again, in the side of his sleeve. That's where he would carry it, saying Abu Hurairah, his cat, radiallahu ta'ala anhu warda. Have you ever had the chance to attend the Bishwa, Tongi, Ijtima, analogous to a pre-Renaissance festival? Sounds interesting. Send one of the students in it. Junaid, will you go for us? Check it out. Go on then. Oh, can cannabis be considered Rayhan? Is that where you're heading to there, Rayhan? It's your name in it. So shall we call you cannabis from now on? Is that what you're saying? Did the Rasul wear green garments, turban? Yeah, and was it only a special? No, he wore green garments, green pinstripe. We've said that. He has green garments. Remember, green garments from the clothes of Jannah. And Jannah garments are green, yani. Brocade. Does hijama break one's fast? Nope. It's not going to break the fast of a person, yani. According to the Shafi'i fuqaha, yani. The Hanafis, everything breaks the fast. Probably there, I don't know. Hanafis, innit? Shaykh Harun and his people, yani. Did the Rasul wear green garments? Does hijama break one's fast? Tayyib. Jazakumullah khairan, inshallah ta'ala. Oh, look at it, nearly 1 o'clock, yani. 20 to 1. Subhanallah. Tayyib, Jazakumullah khairan. Allah yuwafiqukum. Allah ta'ala grant all of you tawfiq, inshallah ta'ala. Fima yuhibbu wa yarda. That which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves and makes him content, subhanahu. Wa sallallahu ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam.